guys want to end up living in your own little echo chambers and all that other stuff going on or whatever. And I'm like, what is going on, guys? What is going on? None of this is going on because it don't make sense. Because if it made sense, then it would make sense. But it don't make sense. And if it don't make sense, then you don't listen to this sound. Now, what are we talking about today? Well, we have a government shutdown going on, and we'll be talking about the government shutdown as the government continues to shut down. Are you guys celebrating the government shutdown correctly? Do you guys know the government's still shut down? Are you cool with the government being shut down? Do you want the government to shut down again? And if you don't want the government to shut down again, then I just need to know. I need to know. Can you change my mind? I don't think you can change my mind. Because if you could change my mind, that would mean you were me. But I'm me and you are you. And because I'm me and you are you, then we can never be the same person. Because if we were the same person, right, then we wouldn't be the same person. But other than that, we're going to get into the government shutdown. But we also have a new special change in my mind that we're going to be talking about. So I'm debating on what time I'm going to do everything. But for now, let's see what's going on with the government shutdown. The live updates. What is Chuck Schumer saying? What's going on, Shu?
One of the things that Republicans are also doing, and they're doing in the White House press briefing, with the running sound of Democrats talking about shutdowns in the past, including sound of you. This is the type of thing you've said about shutdowns in the past. Let's listen.
What's going on, Chucky? What is going on, Chuck? Chucky? Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay, Chucky?
What if I persuaded my caucus to say I'm going to shut the government down? I'm going to not pay our bills unless I get my way. It's a politics of idiocy, of confrontation, of paralysis. Shutting down government over a policy.
Well, nobody ever said any of you guys were smart.
Difference is self-defeating. We can never hold American workers hostage again. While the CR bill is very bad, the potential for a shutdown.
Well, let's play that song. I want to see this goofy dude talking about. Watch how he gets super racist on this song. We about to get into this dude.
Is that political violence?
Fucking goofy.
You seem so confident on the Hortmans, but not Charlie Kirk. What would? It's been a while.
And I'll be telling you guys, this dude clips the fuck out of everybody. He clips the fuck out of everybody. He might have been the one that did this shit. Where is they at? Oh, they might be. Where is they at?
This is the place where we rationalize, we reason our position.
And they had these joints, he dressed up like a woman to go in on these joints. Half of these joints, he was dressed up like a woman to go to.
On controversial topics. When I created Change My Mind in 2017, I had one goal in mind, and that was to shine a light on the...
And half of y'all weren't even in middle school yet trying to tell me about this dude. This dude is a fruitcake. He's a fruitcake. He's not conservative. He's a fruitcake.
Institutions that had failed Americans. Often students propagandized by the educational system as well as legacy media.
Mr. Trump's once again defending comments he made about the white supremacists and neo-Nazis.
There were very fine people.
Professors, administrators.
Well, we want to get into the meat and potatoes. See, and he tried to act like this shit's unclipped. This shit is clipped like fuck. Like, all we seeing is clip.
With me. Steven.
He was to show us all the different costumes he puts on. He wants to get pretty and put his makeup on.
So I'll take that. I mean, you're not maybe super familiar with what we do with these to be, or where hopefully we have a productive. Just the definition of political.
Communicate to outside
audience. I want to make sure we both controversial topic espousing the clickbait. I'll take that. My mind. Thank you, Christina, for sitting down.
One more time.
Steven.
Yes. Okay.
So I'll take that. I mean, you're not maybe super familiar with what we do with these this series. Let me just kind of clarify what it is. First, I'll tell you what it's not. It's not gotcha. It's not clickbait.
It is gotcha and clickbait. It's gotcha and clickbait. Because, like, he tries to get enough people interested to watch this whole thing to get the whole fucking hours up.
This is not...
That's why it's like mastered at 1 hour and 30 some minutes. He's trying to get monetized on YouTube again. That's the issue.
Meant to be, or it won't be used to clip into some kind of a dunk or something just foment people espousing the same rhetoric on one side. It will be uploaded contextually in its entirety, where hopefully we have a productive discussion.
Yes.
We rationalize our positions, reason them on controversial topics. Before I get to the premise of today, could you do me a favor just so we can find some common ground?
Yeah.
This is what's being cited right now quite a bit. Just the definition of political violence. I want to make sure we both agree on it.
Political violence are criminal complaints, indictments, and court records looking for crimes.
And we'll also be getting the actual crime stats that he's probably going to try to reference, because I don't need the Crowder QR code to actually go to government websites and pull the same bullshit he's about to pull up.
That seek a socio-political change or to communicate to outside audience.
And I'll summarize it. That's the technical description from the source cited.
Yeah.
It's violence as a tool being used toward a political end. In other words, just because you vote Democrat or because you vote Republican, if you accidentally hit someone with your car and commit manslaughter, that's not political violence. If you vote Democrat, but let's say you...
But what makes you define the accident? Because like now you're saying running over protesters ain't an accident, ain't political.
Go out and run someone over because of their politics, that would be political. Do we agree on that?
I think I
But what about when you run over a protester and it's legal?
can agree with you on that.
Okay,
Yes.
good. So the premise today is that particularly today in 2025, by and large, the political violence is coming from the left. It's not proportionate with that on the right. That's the reason for the security that you see today that's very necessary. And it's a problem that's reaching a boiling point that may not be sustainable. If you disagree with me, you're welcome to change my mind.
I don't know if I can change your mind because here's the thing. When I see
Crowder's a cross-dresser. Change my mind.
this sign that says the left is violent, and you talked about how it's not proportional, and I would
Oh, let me I'll pull
love
that
to
up.
see your statistics about that, because we could make the same statement about the right very easily, right? Like we could say that was it just a month or two ago that the Democratic lawmakers were shot, and that was like, all right. I think our bigger problem is that the
You're talking about the Hortmans in Minnesota, right?
right, yeah, because she was a senator and her husband was also killed, and like that was done by the right, whatever, but.
She kind of looked like a Mondo, so that might be Crowder's type. That's going to be his next beard.
It wasn't, but continue.
Oh, that wasn't a
No.
It wasn't a conservative or.
No,
what
that's
did he
why I
say?
use the...
And her husband was also killed, and like that was shot, and that was like, all right. We could make the same statement about the right very easily, right? Like we could say that was it just a month or two ago that the Democratic lawmakers were shot, and that was like, all right. I think our bigger problem is that the
You're talking about the Hortmans in Minnesota, right?
right, yeah, because she was a senator and
You see how stupid he tried to spin that? I had to sit there and go back and listen to what I listened to, because he'll just make up anything. He'll make up anything. This guy does not want to accept reality. And the fact that he don't want to accept reality is scary.
husband was also killed, and like that was done by the right, whatever, but
It wasn't, but continue.
oh, that wasn't a
No.
it wasn't a conservative.
And I know it says you got to remove the coal from your own eye before you remove it from your brother's eye. So like, dude, you got coal in your eye, bro. Chill.
No, that's why I use the example that I did. The person, Vance Bolter, who committed it, specifically said it had nothing to do with politics, and he left a letter reasoning it, saying that Tim Walz had ordered him to carry a hit out on people. So he was very clear.
Okay, but she said his political party. I don't think you're understanding, bro. You're fucking goofy. That's why she's looking at you like you're fucking goofy. You're about to clip this woman out of context. Watch.
That it wasn't in the name of politics. That's someone who happened to be, on some issues, Republican, on some issues, Democrat. And he was appointed by a Tim Walz administration. So that...
But on all issues, you're a liberal, but call yourself Republican. Like when you put your dress on.
was not done in the name of political violence. He said Tim Walz ordered him to assassinate somebody who was out of his mind.
You guys know he always wears a dress for this series. Like, I don't know if he's going to have a dress in this episode, but every time he comes back around doing this shit, he goes deep undercover. He puts on a dress and fake titties and everything or whatever. And he always does it on Halloween.
But I'd like you to continue with the example.
Sure. And let's say, okay, so he wasn't right. That's fine.
No, it wasn't political violence.
It wasn't political. Oh, it didn't count as political violence.
Based on the definition you agreed to, right?
Yeah.
So what the fuck? It's not political violence when you fucking put a hole in a senator? Is you fucking stupid?
Yeah. And I think a lot.
She's trying to understand this man, right? I don't know how you guys get like manipulated by this goofy ass dude. He don't even know what the fuck he is. All he does is brand name. Like you see him holding his mug up right now. He's doing that to etch his name in your face, and that's why I made sure that I like pause it because I gotta tell you guys what's going on because you guys don't see what's going on.
Part of it too is there's so many things happening. It's actually really hard to get all the facts about everything.
Sure.
And our media is when they make these statements where they start to postulate about an event.
Yo, and he's gonna tell her how she's wrong, right? But I could go find 100 clips of Crowder saying that same shit.
And it will become political before we've even fully fleshed everything out, you know? Like...
Could you give me an example?
Well, like, the shooting that happened...
Oh, she's going to get
the
these.
Church yesterday. I haven't seen enough... I don't know, have you seen any media on it yet? I'm curious to know what the media is saying
quite a bit
about it. And I want to know if how are they characterizing it?
Yeah, the media isn't characterizing, even I will say this, even on the left and the right, they're not really characterizing that as political violence.
Okay.
Because it was a guy who really seemed to harbor ill will toward the Mormon Church. So it's pretty hard to categorize it as political violence when
Do you know what fucking politics are? Do you know what politics are? Because if you... This dude don't know what politics is. Because, like, for you to say something happening to a church isn't politics, is to say a school board isn't politics.
Targets were largely conservative, and the man who carried out the action seems like he might be a Republican. But I think we could pick a more clear example, a multitude of them. The reason we're here.
White on white crime, white violence. You out here trying to start another fucking white feud.
And I don't think you would argue that this is unnecessary. The assassination in cold blood is an act of terrorism of Charlie Kirk. Is that political violence?
And you guys know I gotta keep pausing because Steven Crowder's a little bitch and he's gonna try to get his hit because you know he hasn't changed his tampon in a while. It's smelling like Dookie.
You seem so confident on the Hortmans, but not Charlie Kirk.
I was just thinking about your question. Yeah, I mean, probably because he was like Turning Point USA is a...
So if online troll, Charlie Kirk, that calls himself a Republican, getting shot by a crazy dude is political violence, how is Democratic state senators or whatever the fuck they was not political violence from the crazy dude that says Tim Walsh tried to pay him to do some goofy shit?
Conservative organization, right? That's meant to try and rally young conservatives and be involved. And so, yeah, I would probably agree that his death was political, or his murder, assassination.
But you can't agree that the state senators are political.
Was politically violent. But I guess I just have a hard time reconciling that with, you know, we can say that the senator and her husband being killed wasn't political, but...
I'll tell you exactly why.
You know?
I'll tell you exactly why.
I could say Steven Crowder was trying to go to a drag queen story hour or whatever, and that's why him and his wife got into a fight over that car, but, you know.
Because the express motive of the terrorist who assassinated Charlie Kirk was politics. He killed him because he said he's one of those hateful conservative right-wingers. The rhetoric that he espoused, the reason that he killed Charlie Kirk, was to take out someone of his political persuasion and make others...
But the last dude you said did it because Tim Walsh paid him to do it. Who was a fucking governor at the time, right? Is he fucking dumb? Are you dumb? Are you dumb?
Of his political persuasion, afraid to express their opinions. The man who assassinated, which I roundly condemn, Vance Bolter, the Hortmans, did not do it as a means to a political end. Charlie Kirk was assassinated. He is not an elected official solely because of his political perspective as a method to instill terror in the populace.
Yeah.
How do I know? Because the person said it was political violence.
Okay, what if we just don't even have enough
But what about the last one? Like, I want to rewind this guy, but I want to get through this.
information, though? Like, what if it is politically motivated and we just don't have enough to know about it yet?
In that case, we do.
You know, well, not in this particular instance, but I just mean that with the Hortons you mentioned.
Okay, well, let's separate the gray area.
Okay.
Right? That's why I kind of start with the example. Just because you, I would assume, let's say, vote Democrat or Republican, just because you commit a crime doesn't make it political violence. I mean, if we did that, we'd have 90% of the crime being committed on behalf of the Democrat Party because most people...
No, that's not the case at all. That's not the case at all, dude. That's not the case at all, right? But when you're talking about violence with politics, like, if a politician getting assassinated is not political violence, but a podcaster is political violence, what the fuck are we talking about?
Inner cities vote Democrat. I don't consider that to be political violence. People have political beliefs, and people commit violence. Sometimes they rob a store because they want money. People who commit political violence...
If somebody carjacks a senator at a red light, that's political violence. I don't give a fuck what else you have to say. You're dumb. Change my mind.
Do so specifically to instill fear in political opposition. They specifically commit violence as a means to a political end.
Okay.
And when we categorize it that way, it's overwhelmingly coming from the left. We do have the sources here that we make this available, so you can take the QR code. So what would make you...
Dude uses real, not broad, real narrow definitions to come to his conclusions. And you can tell he never had a Webster dictionary in his life.
Because you seem very confident that the Hortmans was political violence, and then it's nuanced with Charlie Kirk. Why?
Oh, I didn't say it was nuanced at all with Charlie Kirk. I agreed with you after considering your question that it...
No, you're saying that the Hortons was nuanced and Charlie Kirk was political. She's saying they're both political violence, and you can't accept a state senator being assaulted is political violence. Are you fucking dumb?
Was a political...
If that doesn't constitute political violence that could be answered in the affirmative immediately, of course, what would? Like, what would be required to say, oh, this is clearly an act of political violence or political terrorism? If not Charlie Kirk.
I agreed that it was political violence.
We're not saying Charlie Kirk is a political violence. We're actually agreeing your little podcaster buddy getting shot is political violence. What we're not agreeing with, right, is the other dumb shit you said before that. Like, is he fucking stupid?
So I'm not sure where this question's coming from.
Well, I'm saying because you came in and pointed...
Hold on, we gonna rewind this back.
What if we just don't even have enough information, though? Like, what if it is politically motivated and we just don't have enough to know about it yet?
In that case, we do.
You know, well, not in this particular instance, but I just mean like with the Hortons you mentioned.
Okay, well, let's separate the gray area.
Okay.
Right? That's why I kind of start...
You are making an argument that's not there. You seen what he just did to this woman. You seen what he just did to this woman. This dude is a mean-spirited crossdresser.
The example, just because you, I would assume, let's say, vote Democrat or Republican, just because you commit a crime doesn't make it political violence. I mean, if we did that, we'd have 90% of the crime being committed on behalf of the Democrat Party because most people in inner cities vote Democrat. I don't consider that to be political violence. People have political beliefs, and people commit violence. Sometimes they rob a store because they want money. People who commit political violence do so specifically to instill fear in political opposition. They specifically commit violence as a means to a political end.
Okay.
And when we...
But if you're doing an end to a politician, wouldn't that be a political end? You're fucking stupid.
Categorize it that way. It's overwhelmingly coming from the left. We do have the sources here that we make this available, so you can take the QR code. So what would make you... Because you seem very confident the Hortmans was political violence, and then it's nuanced with Charlie Kirk. Why?
Oh, I didn't say it was nuanced at all with Charlie Kirk. I agreed with you after considering your question that it was a political...
If that doesn't constitute political violence that could be answered in the affirmative immediately, of course...
She just said she agrees with you. You dumb motherfucker. Political violence definition. Wikipedia, no. Webster. Political violence definition, Webster. Now, when you go to a word has a list. Okay, we're going to go to the Oxford Reference Dictionary. For political violence, you are never allowed. Cancel. You can't have nothing. We don't do that, bro. We reject all. Reject all. Stop trying to track me. Oh, they got this shit locked up? So do I gotta actually go grab my fucking dictionary? The free dictionary. Let's go to the free dictionary because they want to be charging stuff. Terrorism. Well, terrorism is political violence, but we're looking up political violence. Political violence. How many definitions does it have? This is for dumb people that never had a dictionary. Okay, I'm going to go look for my dictionary while you guys watch this dictionary.
What would be required to say, oh, this is clearly an act of political violence or political terrorism?
That's what the fuck she just told you. Goofy.
If not Charlie Kirk.
I agreed that it was.
But also, when all y'all goofy motherfuckers get on the internet talking about civil war and race war, like, not even an hour later, isn't that political violence?
Violence, so I'm not sure where this question's coming from.
Well, I'm saying because you came in and pointed to an example that would be in the gray area, the Hortmans, and took a long time to agree with that premise of Charlie Kirk. And so what if we don't know enough information? So Charlie Kirk would be very clear left-wing political violence.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Great.
Yes.
So there are more examples of that coming from the left than the right. That's the premise, yes.
Okay. So you're saying...
Yeah, I hope she can defend herself. She looks like she's older. She looks like she might.
Clear examples of political violence. I hear you using clear
violence
examples.
Carried out as a means to a political end.
So there's clear information, data that shows us that the left is violent or is more violent than the...
I would just ask my guy. I'd be like, my guy, listen, I just gotta ask you this question, okay? Listen, Mr. Crowder, okay? If a politician getting killed is not political violence, but a podcaster getting killed is, where did you go to school at? I blame the schools. It's the white trailer park culture. It's the trailer park culture.
Yes, not only in crime statistics, but also in the polling after Charlie Kirk's death. Now, I believe that you're discussing this in good faith, and I would assume that you roundly condemn political violence of all stripes.
Of course.
So do I.
But you're trying to tell her political violence ain't political violence.
To be clear, I think we both are. That's why we're sitting at a table having a conversation.
Right.
Do you identify as more liberal or conservative?
I like to think I'm moderate because I hold some conservative views and some liberal views.
Okay.
And I wish we could have a little bit more moderation in our country.
Like sitting down and having discussions?
Exactly.
Okay.
Like things like this.
Because we get killed for it anyway.
Right. Yeah.
And only the right.
Why do you keep going there? Why do you keep going there? I don't even know these people that you guys just debated. But I remember the case because it was a fucking politician.
Only the right gets killed for this anyway. You're seeing the one that got through. The reason I stopped doing this for years is because every single time out was a violent attack. Sometimes it was a rock. Sometimes it was a milkshake. Could be concrete, acid, chocolate, vanilla. I don't know. Doxing.
Is this when he gonna set up his fake assault? You know, they be scripting these ones.
Fire bombings, Molotov cocktails. Maya Angelou spoke at SMU only a few years before my first time here. Didn't need this kind of security. And you can see it if you observe your speakers here. And I'll tell you why that is. If you look at the poll...
I wouldn't be surprised if whatever happened with that other situation, it was also somebody that was paid to do it for him, and they thought the stupid-ass kid was going to miss.
Post-assassination of Charlie Kirk, and you label yourself as a moderate, those who identify as liberal support political violence at a ratio of 6-1 to conservatives. The YouGov poll said, is political violence acceptable? 77% of conservatives said not at all. Only 38% of those on the left said not at all. 62% of those on the left said somewhat to completely acceptable. We see the same stats after the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. We see the same stats after the firebombings of the Tesla dealership. And we see the same stats on the opposite side, those on the right roundly condemning political violence. The lowest you'll find is 72. You usually find it in the high 80s. You will not find a number that breaks half on the left.
Okay, you mentioned Donald Trump. Can we jump back? Can we jump to that for just a minute?
Donald Trump, sure. I assumed we would.
Well, because I thought that guy was a registered Republican, and then he maybe donated the guy who attempted to assassinate Donald Trump. I'm sorry, I'm really terrible.
Yeah, because she don't care as much as you do, and you care so much because you like, or how can I describe it? They're like magicians, you know. It's an illusion. It's an illusional act.
Crooks.
Yeah, that he was a registered Republican. So would you consider him a act of violence on the on the right?
I would consider the attempted assassination of a presidential nominee political violence. Yes.
Yes.
I don't know if you know this.
But how wasn't an assassination, an attempted assassination of your guy's political violence, but an attempted assassination of her guy wasn't an actual assassin? I forget about that case, but it was crazy. And it's so crazy that he can't acknowledge it's political violence from his side. Instead of saying like, yeah, but then what about this one and that one and this one, which you could do. You could add this on, but you fucking...
There are a lot of people on the right who don't like Donald Trump.
Yes, I do know a few of them. Yeah.
Political violence isn't just Republican, Democrat. That's why I say left.
At this point, it's becoming most of them, except for these few goofy motherfuckers.
Is right.
Okay.
Those on the right are more routinely targets, and it's very blatant. People can say he was a registered Republican. That doesn't change the fact that it was an act of political violence carried out against Donald Trump, who's a conservative.
Yes.
Republican.
But what about the political violence that was carried out against the Democrats? And I don't know if this is registering with him, because like he's doing that obviously telltales of knowing he's telling bullshit, because everything out of this man's mouth is bullshit.
Whatever term you want to use.
Well, I guess, but if the argument is the left is violent, and I'm just thinking about this guy's, political background from the person. I hear what you're saying, that the right is targeted more often.
Yeah, we're the victims of political violence.
More often. And
Well, in the past 2 years, I remember a couple Democrats getting clapped. Something happened to Trump and something happened to the car or whatever dude is. It don't matter. So it's like you're making a conclusion that's not there.
So would you classify that specific incident as violence of the right or of the left?
Well, the target is the right. The target was Donald Trump. So the net result is the same. We are often the targets of violence.
Yeah, but the left...
Including someone who may be a moderate Republican. Yeah, the left is still overwhelmingly violent. And I point to those polls that you can peruse from YouGov, from Reuters, not bastions of conservatism, along with the rhetoric since then. Here's the one thing that you can't point me to. And we can go through the stats. And I know you've probably heard from...
If you made it this far, make sure you like and subscribe. Comment.
Those on the left that actually there's more right-wing political violence. They're often circulating that right now. I can disabuse you of that notion relatively quickly. I think we find common ground there. You still can't point me to an example that is comparable on the right.
She just pointed to a couple and you're not listening to any of them.
Of Charlie Kirk, someone who was not an elected official, a public figure who was really notable for nothing more than expressing his opinion and having conversations, who was assassinated in cold blood and then...
Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, John F. Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy, damn near the whole fucking Kennedy family, if you really think about it. Wasn't there like fucking 12 of them motherfuckers that got assassinated? Like, what the fuck are we talking about? Are you stupid? Are you fucking dumb? Now, Malcolm X wasn't Democrat, right? He was more politically neutral, but...
gleefully celebrated their laughter from the left. And I hope that as someone who's moderate, you understand why that's so concerning to us on the right. When we host vigils and memorials, and the left is so completely fearless of their own consequences that they...
Because you guys were doing racist shit and a lot of these memorials. Not all of the memorials got fucked with. Just the racist, goofy motherfuckers did.
Kill one of ours and show up to the memorials and vigils and desecrate and vandalize. That is the information that creates the powder keg.
Yeah.
The only off-ramp would have been, hey, we kept saying that people like Charlie Kirk, by the way,
he was calling for violence when this shit happened with Charlie. He was calling for violence. Just remember this. This guy right here that's saying there ain't supposed to be violence was calling for violence. That's why dudes like you got clipped.
Moderate than I am. I am Genghis Khan or Attila the Hun compared to Charlie Kirk, but I will have conversations with anyone. I just want to be very clear. So I know that plenty of people would gleefully celebrate my death, my murder, for doing this exact same thing. The only off-ramp would have been the left saying, look.
Motherfuckers wouldn't really be celebrating, yeah, whatever. Well, I don't know. Some people is crazy, you know what I mean? But there will definitely be people antagonizing them fucking racists is going to be saying a whole bunch of goofy shit if something happens to you. But, bro, we already know, like, you're like 2 steps from going back to being on the left or whatever. Like, watch, he's going to have a dress on, either in this Change My Mind or the next one. I'm thinking about speeding this bullshit up. We've called Donald Trump and his voters and Charlie Kirk and Steven Crowder and whoever on the right, Tucker Carlson, take your pick, Sargon of Akkad, everyone. Ben Shapiro, we've called them fascists. We've called them Nazis. We've said that they want to commit a genocide because they don't want to transition children. We've called them racist because they support the police in an era of defund the police. And my God, people out... Are you guys old enough to remember that Tucker Carlson used to be a liberal and Don Lemon used to be a conservative? I just want to know if you guys are old enough.
They actually believe it. It's incumbent upon us to tone this down and say, you know what? They're not fascists. We made these people believe that this guy would never relinquish the reins of power. How do you deal with fascists? You can't do it at a ballot box. If I believe that they're...
Hey, it's Arthur. Putting on a stage at my school.
Was an actual government right now that was executing blacks, as the left has said about the police force. If I believed that there was a leftist government that was actually fascist, that would jail any and all political dissidents, if I believed that the left was committing a genocide against white conservative Christian men, and if I believed that that administration...
But you keep saying this shit's going on. You're like implying it. Do you hear it? Watch.
...would never host a democratic election again, I'd be out in the streets with a gun. You have a huge portion of Democrats who believe that about Donald Trump and his voters.
Yeah, I mean, I believe you saying that people believe that. Absolutely.
That's very different between the right and the left, isn't it?
I mean...
Bro, we're starting to think that you're a paranoid schizophrenic from half of the shit coming out of your mouth. None of what you're saying is making sense.
I don't know, Stephen. It feels like it's so polarized right now. It's even hard to find common ground on anything. You know, like, I was just thinking about the sign, and it's that the left is violent.
Yes.
Then when I sit down, it's actually the left.
She's using it as Stephen's pronoun right now because, like, I kind of peeped it already. She's a psychologist. This is like, she might end up doing something like this.
It's politically violent, and so it's kind of it's a modifier, right? We're modifying our conversation a little bit, and so.
No, what I'm doing is matching the intensity and the rhetoric of the left. Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have said the right is violent. The political right is violent. And I'm doing what they are unwilling to do, which is sit down and have a conversation.
But you're trying to be violent about it. And we can tell. And you're trying to bully a woman. I don't think Crowder would do this with a man.
I don't believe it's nuanced. I believe there's black and white, pretty clear-cut good and evil in this one. I believe there's pretty black and white, clear-cut who's responsible for the political violence. But I will discuss it with anybody. So did Charlie Kirk. And they kill us anyway. So I'm matching their rhetoric.
What the fuck dude, you're still alive. You're still alive. This dude's like, he murdered me.
That I can fit on a sign, but I'm doing the work that the left is not willing to do. And having a conversation. But I don't know where we go from. If we have these conversations, right, and short of a brigade coming in, we get assassinated. The left doesn't fear that.
I would disagree, though. I think the left does have their own fears about it. Maybe it's not exactly the same, but I think there's a lot of fear out there. It's just not. It's just different.
The left is.
You were murdered. Okay, you obviously weren't murdered because you're alive and you're basically intact. You weren't murdered, buddy.
Yeah. This fucking, what the
Speakers
fuck
on this
is wrong
campus
with
don't
you?
need the same kind of security.
Does have their own fears about it. Maybe it's not exactly the same, but I think there's a lot of fear out there. It's just not. It's just different.
The leftist speakers on this campus don't need the same kind of security. They don't.
I'll take note of that. I mean, I've been a student here for 2 years.
Hold on.
Maybe it's not exactly the same, but I think there's a lot of fear out there. It's just not. It's just different.
The leftist speakers on this campus don't need the same kind of security. They don't.
I'll take note of that. I mean, I've been a student here for 2 years, and I hadn't even paid that much attention. I don't go to a whole lot of events, but I'll take note of that and see what I notice. So.
Well, let me ask you this. Assuming that I'm not lying to you, right, about these polls, and this is one thing, we always, every show that I do, I'm largely a comedian, by the way. I'm an unwilling participant in this. I want to be telling dick jokes in a comedy club. If we have these conversations.
Right.
Hold on, you hear him? He said, I want to tell dick jokes in a comedy club, but we're going to get back to that part, because I need this clip right.
And short of a brigade coming in, we get assassinated. The left doesn't fear that.
Oh, hold on.
I would disagree.
But I don't know where we go from. If we have these conversations,
right.
And short of a brigade coming in, we get assassinated.
You were murdered. Okay, you obviously weren't murdered because you're alive and you're basically intact. You weren't murdered, buddy.
Exactly. You wasn't murdered, Goofy. What the fuck you mean you was assassinated?
The left doesn't fear that.
I would disagree, though. I think the left does have their own fears about it. Maybe it's not exactly the same, but I think there's a lot of fear out there. It's just not. It's just.
I'm telling you, Crowder is a fucking paranoid schizophrenic. He is here telling us he been killed. He's telling us he got killed. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
The leftist speakers on this campus don't need the same kind of security. They don't.
I'll take note of that. I mean, I've been a student here for 2 years, and I hadn't even paid that much attention. I don't go to a whole lot of events, but I'll take note of that and see what I notice.
If you guys are coming on right now, we're live watching Steven Crowder having a paranoid schizophrenic delusion.
Well, let me ask you this. Assuming that I'm not lying to you, right, about these polls, and this is one thing, we always, every show that I do, I'm largely a comedian, by the way. I'm an unwilling participant in this. I want to be telling dick jokes in a comedy club.
I do stand-up comedy, too, actually.
Oh, good, okay. Do you do some around here?
See, he just wants dick in his mouth. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Crowder isn't happy till he got dick in his mouth. That's why he had to start talking about dick, and he's going to be wearing dresses and shit all Halloween.
I do.
You might know my half-Asian lawyer, Bill Richmond. He does a lot of stand-up in Dallas right now. He has a show coming up.
Cool.
Well, let me know. Maybe I'll be able to look it up, and I can't come out and see a show unless I come out with security, but I'd like to see your material. That's actually even another example. A man who works on my show, a man named Josh Firestein, he was a booker for a comedy, a franchise of comedy clubs. When I performed at the Spokane Comedy Club, it was the first time they ever needed metal detectors and security. He'd been a booker there for many, many years. You had actual registered communists do comedy there. He was shocked and he was ready to hate me.
Hold the fuck up. Is he about to say this bullshit again?
He works for him. He works for me now because he saw why it was necessary. When you perform on stage, do you need metal detectors? Do you need armed security? I have since I was 19 years old doing comedy in clubs.
That's because you're a bitch.
And I don't think I've said anything that necessitates that.
But that's because you're a fucking bitch, dog. You're a bitch. That's why you need all that shit, because you're a bitch.
George was letting me know. I have class at 2.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So how do we fix this then?
She says she got class to get to. And you say, how do we fix this? You let her get the fucking class. You wasted 20 minutes of her time and way more than 20 minutes of ours.
And I don't think I've said anything that necessitates that.
George was letting me know. I have class at 2.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So how do we fix this then?
Oh, I mean, I
You let her get the class, okay? That's how you fix
think
it.
we need to have more civil discourse. I think.
Can't do that. We get shot.
Well, we can. We're doing it right now. Let's.
Steven, you've never been shot, though. I know plenty of people that have been shot. I know plenty of Democrats have been shot, plenty of Republicans have been shot, and I know you've never been shot. Like, the fuck is you talking about? This is Crowder right here, right now, guys.
You were murdered. Okay, you obviously weren't murdered because you're alive and you're basically intact. You weren't.
Let's
With
not
the brigade.
be so pessimistic, but Stephen, come on, we have to change our attitudes about it. We can't constantly fixate on the negative stuff. I know it's important and it matters, but we can do it. And just as a
I can do it with $250,000 of security. Most people don't have that.
most people don't have that. And you talk about like fearing for your life.
Yeah.
I am a
She just told you she does comedy too, and she don't have all the security you're talking about. You're like, I've been paying $250,000 for security since I was 19 years old because
You were murdered. Okay, you obviously weren't murdered because you're alive and you're
in
basically.
Deep East, Texas. So on Sunday morning, I wait for that time when someone doesn't like what I said from the pulpit and comes up to me. So I too live with a fear, but it's different for me. And
Do you have metal detectors and armed security?
we can't afford that at my church. We have an old person that sits at the front and says hi and tries to intervene in a way that would be appropriate.
do you hear this shit? Do you hear this shit? He's like, I can't. He's like, do you have? I can't afford it. You are crying about rich people problems.
Christian. We thought about bringing security to the church. We talked about it.
We literally can't have these discussions on our side unless we have it.
We have
it's
security.
It's a necessity.
Yeah.
I was murdered. You were murdered. Okay, you obviously weren't murdered because.
And I think that's really unfortunate that it's gotten so bad. The state of our country is so bad that we can't even talk to each other without one side or the other having to provide ridiculous amounts of safety and security that maybe aren't even guaranteed.
No, it's true.
Right.
And I agree with you. It is terrible that we've gotten to this point.
Exactly. So why your bitch ass traveling with all this fucking security? You paying for all these fucking goons to be around here. All these fucking trailer park and bred fucking hillbillies around
It is
here.
terrible that it's exclusively incumbent upon one side to have these types of measures in place. Let me ask you this. Because again, I think that we both abhor political violence. Do you think that maybe when one side is being hunted, let's make no mistake, Charlie Kirk was hunted. When people showed up to my house to try and kill me, I was being hunted, right?
I was murdered. You were murdered. Okay, you obviously weren't murdered because you're alive and you're basically intact. You weren't murdered, buddy.
Conservative here is one viral tweet, one effective video away from being hunted.
Yeah.
Do we think that when that happens, and we peacefully mourn the loss of one of our peaceful leaders, and we are still approached with violence at memorials and at vigils with desecration, do you think that maybe the both sidesing it, saying it comes from both sides, is actually more harmful than productive? Because it lets the side that's responsible for it off the hook, the clear aggressor.
Do I think it's more harmful to say?
I feel like he's schizophrenic at this point. She came over here to talk about a solution that will work for both sides because there's political violence on both sides, and you're still over here in the denial phase. Stephen Crowder is in the denial phase.
That it's both sides.
Like, he thinks he was murdered, guys.
You think it would be more helpful to call the left out and say, hey, you guys have been saying fascist, you guys have been saying Nazi, you guys have been saying genocide, sexist, and people believe it. And we're seeing political violence now that we both hate. Do you think that calling them out aggressively, rhetorically, might be more productive than saying, well, I guess it happens on both sides? Right
Here we go. Stephen Crowder's calling for violence again.
now.
No, I don't, because it kind of reminds me of
Like, he's calling for violence, for an end of violence, and this don't make no fucking sense.
therapy, where it's not necessarily helpful.
Happens on both sides. Right now.
No, I don't, because it kind of reminds me of therapy, where it's not necessarily helpful to point
She's trying to, like, send this man for mental health, and I don't think he realizes. He's actually talking to a teacher for once.
the finger in ways that are counterproductive. Not that I'm not opposed to holding people accountable, because that's a different thing.
No, I understand.
So,
Maybe let me ask you then this way, where you say pointing fingers. What is the reason that we record crime statistics?
I don't know.
So racists like you can deny it?
would you agree with the fundamental premise that its primary purpose is risk assessment in determining who's most likely to be victimized? For example, and I hear this from the left, transgender or gay sex workers are more likely to be targets of violence than heterosexual sex workers, right? Those studies have come out. And by the way, those seem to be true. So we go, okay, these people are more at risk. The reason for crime statistics is to assess where the risk exists. Otherwise, it serves no purpose.
Okay.
Will we agree with that?
Fair.
Okay.
Sure. I'll trust your information on this.
Well, it's not information. It's just the reason. This is the why. Why else would we have crime statistics? Why would we record them? There's no reason. Just, okay, crime was committed. There's nothing we can do about it now.
I'll just have a history. I mean, is another potential reason, but sure.
What's the value in a history?
But history is so important, Stephen. Come on.
In what?
History matters. Oh my gosh.
But history is important in what?
In everything, right? History repeats itself, but I think it holds to your point that
Yes.
history matters because you're saying we've seen these
You don't want to repeat
violence events.
Yeah.
And we don't
You don't
want
want to repeat negative history.
Right,
So we agree.
right,
That's the
right,
reason for crime statistics. So if we look at those statistics and we look at the polls and we see an overwhelming number of those on the left at a ratio of 6-to-1 support violence compared to those on the right, and we see people being murdered in cold blood. If you are conservative, right-leaning in this country, and a public speaker, you are
I
more at
thought
risk.
he was about to go the Charlie Kirk route.
How is that pointing the finger? It's identifying the problem and not repeating history, no?
Yes. Well, with data, sure. And data speaks differently than I think sometimes people do.
Sure.
You know? And so I think how data is presented matters a lot.
I agree.
So yeah, I mean, that's kind of all I really have on that particular thought. Were you wanting?
Well, I think actually, going to that point, the data that's presented, for example, right now in the wake of the assassination, and by the way, not just that, we haven't gone more than 3 days with a serious liberal attack, but a serious leftist attack, meaning in the ideology of the left. You have it right here, ICE, that happened, ICE facility. You had another one in, I believe, is it Alvarado or Alvarado? I don't know the right way to pronounce it. People were shot there. There's a bomb threat. The ABC affiliate. Okay, all right. It's like Houston, and then in New York they go Houston. I'm like, I don't know the rules, so forgive me. And then I have French-Canadian mom, so I mispronounce things because she taught me English.
Nice.
And then we look at the ABC affiliate, Jimmy Kimmel. We haven't gone more than 3 days. That's an acceleration right now. And the problem is, amidst that, the left is saying, actually, there's more political violence coming from the right. And that's the rhetoric we've been hearing, and it's dishonest. In other words, data is being presented to the public deliberately, dishonestly, to victim blame. And that's something that we face too, where if you back people into a corner who are avoiding conflict, who are not violent, there could end up being right-wing violence. And when that happens, it's very ugly, it's very effective, it's very swift. And the only way we avoid that is for the left to take accountability of it and for them to tone down the temperature. And by that I mean, right now, and this is where I show you, I think we both agree on this. So the two sources in the data, I don't care if you see my password, are the prosecution project, that's what's cited in The Economist and NPR.
Okay.
You don't have to care if somebody sees your password when you run around with millions of dollars of security.
You know, these are the ones where they say, hey, right-wing violence is more prevalent. I'm sure you've heard that. Let me show you what they don't include in the data, because like you said, people speak differently than data. Remember this in Portland?
When was this?
Summer of Love, George Floyd riots. Aaron Danielson, shot point blank dead because he was a Trump voter. And the man, Reinhold, it was Michael Reinhold who shot him, told the cops, I got the Trump supporter, dead. We agree that's political violence?
Yes, of course.
Not a single one of these places cites it. It doesn't exist in their database.
The ones here in your black folder, but not here in this.
No, in there. You have all the sources.
Oh, these ones doesn't.
It's the same thing. The black folder is just those.
Okay.
Yeah. The point is they come from two places. TPP, the prosecution project, or a Cato study, which is reflected by the CSIS as well, where Cato tried to say there's 6 times the amount of domestic terrorism deaths. TPP said right-wing general violence. By the way, all of them agree that in the last year, since Donald Trump has been elected, even now they agree 2 to 3 times more leftist violence than right-wing violence. But that was never included. In other words, when they say there's more right-wing political violence, that's not included as left-wing political violence. You know what else isn't? All the riots, the billions in damages, the 37 dead during the George Floyd riots, the thousands of officers assaulted, the thousands of casualties, that's not included. You know what else is included? Darrell Brooks in Waukesha, Wisconsin, who ran people over in the parade out of an exclusive defund the police, Black Lives Matter, anti-white, black supremacist ideology. That's why he killed them. That's not included. I could go through example after example that where you would just as clearly agree that is political violence. I'm not trying to pick a gray one. It exists nowhere. So why do you think that wouldn't be included in the data as left-wing political violence? Because that's the number cited by the left right now to justify it.
I think we have so much data that it's hard to even, especially in the today's. Well, I don't know. That's weird because you're saying in the police recorded call they said
he spoke to the police before they shot him.
So it's on a 911 call. That
so this is on
the Trumper.
Yeah, he was talking to the police. So there's
police cam video.
This is security camera video, and then I believe there's also police camera video and sworn testimony from the police. But he identified as 100% Antifa.
Yeah.
You can look at his social media. He went out there. There are even, I believe, interviews with this man before this was committed where he was talking about enacting political violence.
Yeah.
Did it? Clear as day. Are you a Trump supporter? Yes, we've got a Trump supporter. Bang, bang, dead. All the studies from left-wing sources don't include that. Is that bothersome?
Yeah, I do think it is bothersome because we need to have the facts of the situations, any situation, regardless of where it comes from. And, you know, you talked about something you said earlier just reminded me of, like, the media is not portraying things accurately. And that's adding fuel to the fire.
Yeah.
It's adding so much fuel to the fire.
On that, we agree. And can I ask you, and this is, by the way, there's no wrong answer. This is just an opinion. Why do you think that wasn't included? Why do you think the examples that I gave you, none of them were included? But any example of white on black violence, even if it was a Democrat voter, was listed as right-wing. Any attack on a government building, even if it was Antifa, was listed as right-wing. Why do you think something that clear
was not included?
Because you be making shit the fuck up. You be making shit the fuck up.
Would it surprise you if the authoritative source that's being cited, the prosecution project, the author of it, was actually arrested himself on January 20th protesting Donald Trump, committing crimes, and that entire day was also omitted?
Probably not.
A member of Antifa who said we are an organized group and we confront fascists. That's the source that gets disseminated across. It seems like there might be a bias there.
I just feel like, dude, I feel like you're paranoid schizophrenic at this point. Because, like, everything you said is fucking bullshit. It's bullshit. You know, bullshit.
And these sources are being used to victim blame those on the right now. Where do you think those on the right go? Where we go, hold on a second, we're actually sitting down and having conversations, and we've been attacked and in some cases killed.
Right.
And then you came to the memorials and the vigils, and you celebrated it. A majority of people on the left, not all, not yourself, but many celebrated it.
I don't celebrate it
No,
in that way.
but many did, and we both know that we saw it.
I know you're right,
And then you came and blamed us and said we need to tone it down, and told us that we're more violent.
You guys were talking about a race war.
With clearly dishonest stats.
Yeah.
That's why I say that both sides in it, doesn't it?
You guys wanted to have a mostly peaceful civil war, and you're still calling for fucking violence during this fucking debate.
Because you're backing people into a corner, not you, the left, with lies. At a certain point, they're going to push back, and I'm trying to avoid that.
Yeah, so what do you think the answer is then?
I'll tell you what I think the answer is, twofold. One, the leadership of the left and the majority of the left. I think that the majority of people who identify as liberal, the reason you get those numbers 62 to 65, depending on the day, whether it's Rutgers or whether it's YouGov, I think they support political violence to varying degrees because they actually believe that those on the right are fascist, are Nazis, are genocidists, are racist, are homophobic, are sexist, because every single member of the Democratic leadership has said so. Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Walz, Bernie, Elizabeth Warren, every single one has made that comparison. I think it's incumbent.
I feel like this man been in, like, I'm about to just leave him alone at this point. You know what I mean? We might touch on this a little bit later, but Steven Crowder is ultimately deranged. He's going through some heavy paranoid schizophrenic delusions of some sort, and I don't know how to really deal with this man and his paranoid disillusions. Like, we heard him multiple times say he was murdered on the stream, and I don't know what to tell you, Steven Crowder. I just know there's this old video, and if you've been online as long as dudes as us been online for, this might help you out so you can realize what happened.
You were murdered. Okay, you obviously weren't murdered because you're alive and you're basically intact. You weren't murdered, buddy.
That's just a classic. That's a classic, guys. And if you don't know that, then I don't know what to tell you. But Mr. Steven Crowder, you were not murdered. Now, we know you guys want to know about the government being shut down. So, since you guys want to know about the government being shut down, we're going to talk about the government being shut down because that's why you guys came out. You guys don't care about changing your fucking mind. Your mind's made the fuck up. And a lot of these dudes' minds is made up too, even if they have to jump through a whole bunch of mental loops. Like, that woman really came down and tried to have a conversation with Steven. And he was just... he did everything he accuses the left of doing. In real time.
Government shuts down after Trump and Congress fail to reach deal. By Hannah Park, Michael Williams, and Maureen Chowdhury, CNN. Updated 12:14 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Wednesday, October 1st, 2025. Play. See what Schumer said in the past about government. 154. Where things stand now. Shutdown in effect. The federal government shut down at midnight after a deadlocked Congress failed to reach a deal on funding. Republicans and Democrats are at odds over enhanced Obamacare subsidies, with leaders of both parties lobbing the blame at each other. Who's impacted? Federal workers bear the brunt of government shutdowns. Every shutdown differs, but agencies and activities that are deemed essential will remain open. We're tracking which programs are affected here. No clear timeline. There is deep uncertainty about how long the shutdown could last, with the White House Budget Office telling agencies ahead of the funding lapse to prepare plans for mass firings. Will this shutdown affect you? Share your story here. Time since shutdown. 0.
I feel like a lot of podcasters are going to be affected by this shutdown.
0 days. 12 hours. 16.
Let's see how many views dude got on his joint, because he usually got a lot of views, right? Like, he got 5 million. He got 5 million on his channel, right? Let's see.
Warn every single...
And we just gave him one extra. So there's a lot of people that did the whole restart or whatever, like I was doing, right? He got 53Ks, right? His 1 minute video got almost 200K views or whatever, right? This had a 5 million people, and most people only watch you for to change their minds. But our minds has not been changed because you're not a good debater. You are a horrible debater. You're not like your friend. You're not like your friend Eric Cartman.
GOP leaders say shutdown ends when Democrats pass short-term funding bill. From CNN's Veronica Strack-Willersi and Arlette Saenz. Republican congressional leaders on Wednesday ruled out any changes to the House-passed stopgap bill, arguing that Democrats need to get on board with the measure while blaming them for the shutdown. House Speaker Mike Johnson suggested during a press conference on Capitol Hill that he isn't open to any changes to the House-passed 7-week stopgap bill, telling reporters, "There isn't anything we can do to make this bill any better for them. There's nothing to negotiate. There's nothing that we can pull out of this bill to make it any leaner or cleaner than it is. It's absolutely sparkling clean," he insisted. Senate Republican leader John Thune argued that the shutdown will only end once Senate Democrats vote for the stopgap bill that would fund the government until November. Chuck Schumer, at the behest of a bunch of liberal, far-left activist groups, has walked his Democrat colleagues into a boxed canyon. "There's no way out. Folks, there's no way out. This could have been avoided," he said. And everybody is now asking the question, how does this end? Well, it ends when the Senate Democrats pick this bill up, passed by the House of Representatives, and vote for it, he said, holding up a copy of the continuing resolution. 9 minutes ago. Democratic stopgap funding bill has failed to advance again. Lawmakers are voting on House-passed version. From CNN's Morgan Rimmer. The floor of the U.S. Senate chamber on Wednesday. Senate TV. The Senate failed to advance Democrats' stopgap funding bill once again this morning in a 47 to 53 party line vote. They are now voting again on advancing the GOP short-term funding bill, which has passed the House and garnered several Democrats' votes Tuesday night. 11 minutes ago. Major economic data suspended due to federal shutdown. From CNN's Matt Egan and Alicia Wallace. We've already reported that Wall Street is still digesting the possible implications of the shutdown on the economy. But the shutdown also threatens to derail major economic reports on trade, inflation, and gross domestic product, GDP, creating an information vacuum for investors and policymakers. The Bureau of Economic Analysis, a federal agency housed inside the Commerce Department, said today it is required to suspend operations until Congress appropriates funding for this fiscal year. That suspension will prevent the release of BEA economic data scheduled to be released during the shutdown, the agency said. If the shutdown lasts into next week, the first impact to BEA data would come on October 7th when new statistics on imports and exports were set to be released. A prolonged shutdown would delay the release of other major economic reports from the BEA due out later in the month, including the first estimate of third-quarter GDP on October 30th. The Federal Reserve's go-to inflation metric, the Personal Consumption Expenditures, PCE, price index, is scheduled for October 31st. These BEA economic reports jeopardized by the shutdown are in addition to the inflation and jobs reports that the Bureau of Labor Statistics says it will not release due to the shutdown. A Labor Department spokesperson confirmed to CNN that the government shutdown will also delay weekly data on jobless claims. 15 minutes ago, Democratic senator explains why she crossed party lines to vote for GOP funding bill to avert a shutdown. From CNN's Allison Main and Manu Raju, Senator Catherine Cortez Masto speaks to reporters on Tuesday. And a moneymaker / Getty Images. Senator Catherine Cortez Masto, one of three in the Democratic caucus to vote Tuesday for Republicans' proposal to avert a shutdown, urged lawmakers from both parties to come together and help solve the country's problems. The Nevada Democrat told CNN she's concerned a shutdown will drive up costs that have already risen in her state from President Donald Trump's aggressive tariffs and also impact the tourism industry, which she noted is a major revenue generator. Cortez Masto said the Trump administration needs to directly address the issue of high costs and healthcare concerns rather than playing games here about winners and losers. There's a problem, and they need to act like adults. Get in a room and think about the American public, she continued. She pinned the shutdown stalemate on both sides, explaining, I think the American public is looking at Congress and saying, what are you doing? We solve these problems. That's where we should be. We should be doing our jobs, solving these problems, getting together and addressing what the American public, that I know in my state, what they are feeling, she said. Cortez Masto told CNN she's been calling her Democratic and Republican colleagues and urging them to come together because we need to come out of this shutdown and we need to fix this healthcare crisis. 22 minutes ago, Democratic Senator Shaheen, a potential swing vote, says she's speaking with Republicans on getting out of a shutdown. From CNN's Morgan Rimmer. Senator Jean Shaheen speaks to reporters on Tuesday. And a moneymaker / Getty Images. Democratic Senator Jean Shaheen, a potential swing vote on the GOP stopgap funding bill, said that she is actively engaged in conversations with Republicans, though she will not back the House-passed package today. Shaheen said she thinks there is room to make changes to the Enhanced Affordable Care Act subsidies, as some Republicans have demanded reforms to the program. I do see room to address some of the concerns that we've heard our colleagues address. So hopefully we can continue those conversations, she said. I've talked to a number of people in the last 12 hours since we voted, and I think there is an opportunity to continue discussions. 30 minutes ago, government websites blaming radical left may violate federal ethics rules, lawyers say. From CNN's Caitlin Polance. The landing page of the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development website, as seen on Wednesday. U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. The banners on government websites accusing the radical left in Congress of the government shutdown have caught the attention of ethics lawyers today, shocked by the Trump administration's politicization as the government shutdown commences. Some ethics lawyers say they believe the message being used by the Trump administration to blame the shutdown on the radical left in Congress, particularly in the big, bold banners on the Department of Housing and Urban Development website on Wednesday, may violate federal ethics rules that bar against using government agency operations for partisan politics. The HUD website carries a large pop-up that says, the radical left in Congress shut down the government. HUD will use available resources to help Americans in need. I know HUD is claiming the term radical left isn't partisan politics. DC-based attorney Kevin Owen, who represents federal workers, said, citing a report in the New York Times that HUD officials say the radical left refers to an ideology rather than a political party. That's not plausible. Also this week, HUD Secretary Scott Turner posted on social media saying that Democrats were holding our government hostage. The Hatch Act, passed by Congress nearly 100 years ago, is intended to prohibit partisan politics from entering the federal workforce. The Office of Special Counsel has historically been able to investigate these types of violations, at times fining or blocking from federal employment violators from the administrations of both parties. President Donald Trump, however, fired the U.S. Special Counsel early in his second presidency, installing his own pick for the job. 25 minutes ago, GOP Senator Hawley, rising premiums are a concern, but shutdown must end before they're addressed. From CNN's Morgan Rimmer. Senator Josh Hawley, on Tuesday. Annabelle Gordon / Reuters. GOP Senator Josh Hawley.
So I see this one dude say he read Kamala Harris's book, so you don't have to. Do you guys want to find out about Kamala Harris's book, so you don't have to? And this dude, he got way more views than the change my mind bullshit that's going on with the other dude or whatever. Or maybe we can go back to watching this change my mind bullshit and watch this dude crash the fuck out.
Angle one has made that comparison. I think it's incumbent upon the left to take accountability, say, look, we have gone too far here. This needs to be toned down. Of course, Donald Trump and his voters are not fascists who won't relinquish power, because he can't deal with fascists at a ballot box. And then I think we also states need to take this upon them, need to change their soft on crime policy. The no cash bail, the IOU policy, where you can simply say, I'll be back in court. Before Charlie Kirk, right, the story in the news was Zarutska.
What the fuck are you talking about, bro? The fuck are you talking about? You don't give a fuck about cash bail. You just said you spend a fucking $250,000 every time you go out to eat. Like, shut the fuck up, Goofy.
The Ukrainian refugee who was stabbed on that subway in North Carolina by a black man, Carlos Brown Jr. He was let out 14 times. And the last time he was let out by a left judge in the name of social justice, he was deemed unfit to stand trial. But they let him go back out into society because he said he'd be back. Said he killed an innocent woman. You know why? Because, hey, justice is racist. I don't know when it becomes racist, if it's at arrest number 11 or 14 or 6. But that needs to change.
Here we go.
Those two things, accountability, change in rhetoric, ownership from the left, which will change the makeup of today's left, make us safer, and needs to change soft on crime policy. And I also advocate that conservatives take an approach of ruthless, lawful self-defense, because we've afforded grace where it is not warranted. What I mean by that is people who attack me and my family, and many of my production members who've been attacked violently.
How does 57% of the population commit 69% of the crime?
Taken the high road for a very long time, and that's why these people feel so bold to come to our memorials and still commit attacks. They didn't know they can't do that. I want the left to be able to get up and have these conversations with no security, as they often do. And I don't want anyone on the right to go and violently disrupt it. The left needs to be afraid to come into our groups and commit acts of violence, because we watched entire cities burn down. We watched our own die, and then we watched it celebrated. And unless the left does this and takes this approach, it's going to get worse. There's no off-ramp. That's a genuine concern of mine. People are concerned about radicalizing, right? They talk about radicalization with echo chambers online. And there's nothing more radicalizing than an assassination and a party afterwards.
Yes, no, I agree with you.
That's why I'm sitting down doing this. And to let people know that we're not afraid to have these conversations. Now, of course, we have bulletproof glass and a flak jacket, and it's sad that it's here.
Right.
But it's not.
Nah, dude, you be making a lot of this shit you be saying up, dude. And you think we don't know that you're making all your stats up. You think that we don't know that you're making all your stats up because your stats are not based in reality. Your stats are not based in reality.
That's what I think.
Okay.
Would you disagree with any of those approaches? Changing the rhetoric, taking accountability, and stopping the soft on crime revolving door criminality policy?
This is hard, Stephen, because I just feel like we don't have enough time to even really dive deep into each one.
Well, those are two proposals.
Issues. I know. But I just need more time to process and really consider
how crazy you are.
And to understand what you mean exactly with each thing, because I don't want to.
No cashless bail.
No cashless bail.
Yeah, so you have to post bail.
With that.
Okay, you have to post bail.
Post bail.
You commit a violent crime, you have to post bail. You're in jail. You're not allowed out.
Okay, so no cashless bail, meaning you're not allowed to.
You're not allowed to get out without paying any bail.
Without paying any bail, and like
3-strike policy as well.
3-strike policy.
3 serious felonies, violent crimes.
Wait, hold on, bail.
Yeah.
So you're saying if you can't make bail, you can't get out.
Yep. You have to wait for your trial.
No matter what.
And what is your 3-strike policy? This dude has no fucking comment. I don't think he understands how the real world works. Like, you think they just let people out of jail after they shoot people? Are you fucking stupid? He's fucking stupid, Chad. He's fucking stupid. Steven Crowder is fucking stupid.
The level of the crime is.
No, if it's a serious felony.
Only if it's a serious felony.
Let's even start with violent crimes.
like
felonies, violent crimes,
something like that.
Assault, armed robbery.
Okay.
Burglary.
He's just scared of people. He's just scared of people. Let's see. Assault. Let's look at assault. Aggravated assault. Now 61%. So 57% commit 61% of the assaults. Burglary is right below at 68%. And all this other bullshit he was just talking about.
Battery.
I think I could probably get behind that.
Okay.
I could probably get behind that.
Not a single leader in the Democratic Party is. Why?
Yeah.
So we could get behind that. No IOU policy for these criminals. You're deemed meant. Let's use DeCarlos Brown Jr. as a very clear example. We could use George Floyd as an example, too. He was arrested 6 or 9 times.
Actually, I'm so...
Okay, that's fine.
I have to go to...
Okay, well, please peruse those sources.
Yeah.
Your name is Christina. Let me get your last name so if I want to go see your...
What? He's trying to hook up with her on Facebook because she looking like a model. She looking like a model.
Material.
Yeah, well, I perform under a stage name, and I wouldn't say it anyways.
Could you write it down for me if I don't show it to anybody?
I will write it down for you, but you won't be able to find me. I'm not like a big, like,
Okay.
I just started a year or so ago.
Well, I was going to follow up. Maybe if I see it, send you some notes of encouragement because I could have used that when I was starting.
Okay.
If you write it down, I promise you no one will see it.
Okay. But I don't know how you're going to send me anything.
He's going to expose it. He's going to expose her because he's a fucking psycho.
Well, just no vibes, I think is the term that's used now. I'll be watching. Know that I'll be out there going like, hey, go get him.
Well,
But
this is my stage name.
Okay.
So,
thank you. Thank you, Christina.
Yes, thank you.
I appreciate it.
Good luck with this.
You too. God bless.
And I am, I just want to say, it's really inappropriate. If anyone from the left or the moderate is right, we shouldn't be celebrating death. We need to be working together and being united in these things. Together we stand, divided we fall.
I agree with most of that.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Christina.
Yeah, thank
be well.
you.
God bless.
You hear how he was? He's like, I agree with most of that. No, the fuck. This motherfucker.
Well, that was surprisingly productive. And I say surprisingly, not in the context of change my mind, but in the context of what we see in today's social media highlight reels. I hope that we can keep this up. Let's move on to our next conversation with Madison, like the town. Allow me to assert the premise today, which is that today, especially in 2025, I am presupposing that predominantly the political violence right now is coming from the left, setting a tenor and tone where everything you see here today is necessary. And if you disagree with that,
he probably got this one. The last one, that woman felt sorry for him. That woman felt sorry for him. She gave him a pity win.
More than welcome to change my mind.
Yeah.
All right. So, which part of that, the left is predominantly responsible for the tone of political violence today, do you disagree with?
Well, I have to think that we first have to consider how many people are on the left and what is the true ideology and mythos behind this new occurrence of violence that we see with the left.
Okay.
Of course, I mean, there's potential skews of media. I don't doubt that crime is not happening, but how many people are truly committing crime out of the sake of leftism or out of the sake of radical?
She must have just watched what he watched. She might pin him by making herself look stupid. But we ain't going to see that.
Or could it be plastered on there just to get this ball rolling about narrative? The only other question that I had, a personal question about you, is...
And watch, Crowder ain't going to ask her for her IG because she actually looks like a girl.
And it's a tough one.
Well, is it related to the topic?
It is.
Okay.
Would Jesus be on the left or the right?
Well, that's a conversation for another day. We talk about that in church quite a bit. I don't necessarily know that he would fit within the current American left-right paradigm. But I will tell you one thing. Jesus would certainly be against political violence as a form of intimidation or coercion. It seems to me like, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're not disagreeing with the idea, the uptick that there is an increase in political violence from the quote-unquote left. You're just not sure if you define them as left?
Partially, yeah. I just don't necessarily want to just assign political violence.
Basically, the same shit you just said about the last 3 cases that were brought to your attention.
Or terrorism directly to the left because we see political violence across the world in forms of autocratic or conservative ideologies. So maybe China is a really good example. Arguably Russia,
of leftist violence?
Of leftist violence, especially. Or, well, no, autocratic and conservative violence.
China would be conservative?
I would believe so because they're an autocracy. So they have to practice conservative ideologies to obtain, they can't liberate their people. That's what the left is. That's what liberation is.
Well, I don't know how familiar you are with the CCP, but they're communist. And they did so under the guise of liberating people. And then, of course, you don't actually have any democratically held elections again. So they are communist. They've done so to liberate people, namely from the decadence, the quote-unquote shackles of the Western world. I'm just a little bit, I guess, flummoxed as to how you would define communist China. The Communist Chinese Party is right-wing.
The same way how you did all the goofy shit you just did in the last Change My Mind bullshit we just watched.
Well, because when Marx wrote his communist ideologies, it was conservative based. He didn't enjoy other people, races. He wanted to eliminate races.
What does it have to do with conservatism?
It has to do with human rights, because conservatism isn't looking to liberate people from or define human rights. It's looking to remove human rights. Conserving the beliefs of the state and conserving the beliefs of elitism.
Okay, so what if your premise is flawed? So what if conservatism, and I understand, by the way, I agree with you, it means different things across. For example, conservative in the UK. In Canada, you're basically a liberal.
You broke, the kid ain't yours, and everybody know. Your old man say you stupid. You be like, so? I love my baby mama, even though she divorced.
Or a liberal separatist. There's no real conservative party. But in the United States, it's not about conserving the state. As a matter of fact, our Constitution is very unique in that it said...
Let's see what's going on with this government shutdown.
GOP Senator Josh Hawley, who has warned about rising premiums if Enhanced Affordable Care Act subsidies aren't extended. Senator King, I was right to vote to keep the government open. From CNN's Annie Grayer. Independent Senator Angus King says he doesn't feel pressure to change his vote in support of the Republican funding proposal. He will continue, he said, to vote to keep the government open, even though most Senate Democrats are poised to keep voting against it. I was right. Why should I change my vote? King said, 13 minutes ago. Republicans' House-passed funding bill again hits a Senate roadblock. From CNN's Morgan Rimmer. The Senate failed to advance Republicans' stopgap funding bill once again this afternoon in a 55-45 vote. To pass the bill that would fund the government for 7 weeks, Republicans need 60 votes. That means they need to secure at least 7 Democratic votes, if all GOP lawmakers vote to support it. 3 senators in the Democratic caucus crossed party lines Wednesday to support the GOP measure. 13 minutes ago, leaving national parks partially open is dangerous, park advocates say. From CNN's Rebecca Reese and Lily Howdaw. Visitors drive by unstaffed entrance stations at Acadia National Park in Maine on Wednesday. Robert F. Bucity/AP. National parks will stay partially open during the federal government shutdown, according to a contingency plan released Thursday by the U.S. Department of the Interior. Park advocates are sharply criticizing this decision, calling it dangerous to allow public access without adequate staffing. Emily Thompson, executive director of the Coalition to Protect America's National Parks, told CNN that leaving parks open...
Hold on, we need adequate staffing for parks? What the fuck are you talking about, my guy?
Open without staff is irresponsible and puts both visitors and resources at risk. Bill Wade, head of the Association of National Park Rangers, echoed concerns about increased risks of vandalism, poaching, and slower emergency response. The contingency plan says park roads, trails, and open-air memorials will generally remain accessible, but areas with sensitive resources may close if they can't be protected by limited law enforcement staff. Some states, like Utah and Colorado, have pledged to fund park operations to keep them open. The furlough of more than 9,000 agency employees comes as America's most treasured sites were already strained by recent Trump administration layoffs. Advocates point to the 2018 shutdown, when limited staffing led to vandalism, theft, and environmental damage. Teresa Pierno, president of the National Parks Conservation Association, warned that further staff cuts could cause irreversible harm to the park's mission and resources. 24 minutes ago, GOP leaders say shutdown ends when Democrats pass short-term funding bill. From CNN's Veronica Stracquilursi and Arlette Saenz. Republican congressional leaders on Wednesday ruled out any changes to the House-passed stopgap bill, arguing that Democrats need to get on board with the measure while blaming them for the shutdown. House Speaker Mike Johnson suggested during a press conference on Capitol Hill that he isn't open to any changes to the House-passed 7-week stopgap bill, telling reporters, "There isn't anything we can do to make this bill any better for them. There's nothing to negotiate. There's nothing that we can pull out of this bill to make it any leaner or cleaner than it is. It's absolutely sparkling clean," he insisted. Senate Republican leader John Thune argued that the shutdown will only end once Senate Democrats vote for the stopgap bill that would fund the government until November. Chuck Schumer, at the behest of a bunch of liberal, far-left activist groups, has walked his Democrat colleagues into a boxed canyon. "There's no way out. Folks, there's no way out. This could have been avoided," he said. And everybody is now asking the question, how does this end? Well, it ends when the Senate Democrats pick this bill up, passed by the House of Representatives, and vote for it, he said, holding up a copy of the continuing resolution. 30 minutes ago, Democratic stopgap funding bill has failed to advance again. Lawmakers are voting on House-passed version. From CNN's Morgan Rimmer, the floor of the U.S. Senate chamber, on Wednesday. Senate TV. The Senate failed to advance Democrats' stopgap funding bill once again this morning in a 47-53 party line vote. They are now voting again on advancing the GOP short-term funding bill, which has passed the House and garnered several Democrats' votes Tuesday night. 33 minutes ago, major economic data suspended due to federal shutdown. From CNN's Matt Egan and Alicia Wallace. We've already reported that Wall Street is still digesting the possible implications of the shutdown on the economy. But the shutdown also threatens to derail major economic reports on trade, inflation, and gross domestic product, GDP, creating an information vacuum for investors and policymakers. The Bureau of Economic Analysis, a federal agency housed inside the Commerce Department, said today it is required to suspend operations until Congress appropriates funding for this fiscal year. That suspension will prevent the release of BEA economic data scheduled to be released during the shutdown, the agency said. If the shutdown lasts into next week, the first impact to BEA data would come on October 7th when new statistics on imports and exports were set to be released. A prolonged shutdown would delay the release of other major economic reports from the BEA due out later in the month, including the first estimate of third-quarter GDP on October 30th. The Federal Reserve's go-to inflation metric, the Personal Consumption Expenditures, PCE, price index, is scheduled for October 31st. These BEA economic reports jeopardized by the shutdown are in addition to the inflation and jobs reports that the Bureau of Labor Statistics says it will not release due to the shutdown. A Labor Department spokesperson confirmed to CNN that the government shutdown will also delay weekly data on jobless claims. 36 minutes ago, Democratic senator explains why she crossed party lines to vote for GOP funding bill to avert a shutdown. From CNN's Allison Main and Manu Raju. Senator Catherine Cortez Masto speaks to reporters on Tuesday, and a moneymaker/Getty Images. Senator Catherine Cortez Masto, one of three in the Democratic caucus to vote Tuesday for Republicans' proposal to avert a shutdown, urged lawmakers from both parties to come together and help solve the country's problems. The Nevada Democrat told CNN she's concerned a shutdown will drive up costs that have already risen in her state from President Donald Trump's aggressive tariffs and also impact the tourism industry, which she noted is a major revenue generator. Cortez Masto said the Trump administration needs to directly address the issue of high costs and healthcare concerns rather than playing games here about winners and losers. There's a problem, and they need to act like adults. Get in a room and think about the American public, she continued. She pinned the shutdown stalemate on both sides, explaining, "I think the American public is looking at Congress and saying, 'What are you doing? We solve these problems. That's where we should be. We should be doing our jobs, solving these problems, getting together and addressing what the American public, that I know in my state, what they are feeling," she said. Cortez Masto told CNN she's been calling her Democratic and Republican colleagues and urging them to come to
some more breaking fake news for you guys, because it seems like the Charlie Kirk show got completely took over. And with the Charlie Kirk show being completely took over, I just want to see what's going on right over here. So, go to Rumble. Yeah, it's right here on the front
I got
page.
inflamed that day, and it took everything in me to just keep it down the middle on the fairway, because I had to sit through a whole, this is both sides.
And I'm so confused about this. Like, are they doing this bullshit again?
You guys have no idea what our side has been up against for so long. And guys like you guys like Steven Crowder, and guys like Charlie knew it, and he knew it, and you guys know it firsthand because of the death threats and the threat.
But what the fuck are you talking about, though? What the fuck are you talking about? And what's the baddest bunny Is one of these guys, hold on, Shut It Down plus and the ADL plus the baddest bunny. The fuck is they on over here? This shit is sounding crazy. I guess
That's are very real, and there's the calls with the FBI are very real, and you're constantly trying to play whack-a-mole with this stuff because groups like the ADL whitewashed it and they cover for it. And this is
extremism, more violence. What they're really doing is they're saying
it really just started.
I look at that and I say, okay, I literally don't care. What is the motivating ideology? This guy attacked the LDS Church. Was he motivated by Speaker Johnson? He wasn't? Okay, well, the concern we have when we say the left is that AOC...
Two trailer park boys go around the outside, around the outside, around the outside in a dress.
Went on the House floor and espoused the same ideology as the alleged assassin. That is where we say, wow, this ideology of the liberals, of mainstream...
Y'all like in that man's office? Isn't that in his home? Isn't his wife there? This is creepy. Honestly, guys, am I the only person creeped out by this?
Liberals, moderate Democrats, is held by violent extremists. We're concerned about how violent they have gotten. They then say the right is doing it, but you can't compare Steven Crowder or Charlie Kirk to some Klan guy in the middle of Nebraska or who knows where.
Yeah, because he actually holds political office. You guys don't.
Well, and by the way, you made the point, though, that a lot of people were quoting the ADL crime sort of data, some study, and wasn't it done by a guy that was connected somehow to the Antifa?
Oh, yeah.
We're quoting FBI crime statistics. At least that's what I quote.
So there's several different studies. I don't know I can't remember which one. This might have been the, I can't remember the name. But yeah, one of the studies they were passing around was just literally made by an Antifa activist. There was like 3 or 4 databases that they were like always sharing that do this.
And pull up the ADL heat map, the extremism map, and right wing white supremacy.
I've never looked at that. I've never looked at that one.
Right wing anti-government and right wing other. Meanwhile, left is just one thing. If it's not a Marxist-Leninist who blew up a building, it doesn't count as left-wing violence. For instance, the killing of Aaron Danielson didn't count, according to these studies, as left-wing.
I don't think they count those as left-wing
violence.
Jeez Louise, are you kidding me?
It's true.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, it's like as far as you want to go down the rabbit hole, right? It just keeps getting worse, and something has to be done, and I think you're spot on that we're going to have to adjust our tactics to confront this, or we're all in deep trouble. I'm going to tell you about another one of our partners here, and that's Tax Network USA.
I don't care.
The government say 2,000 or a few million, they can help you.
I don't care about what you're talking about with the this or the that or the that or the this or the this like that.
Demand letters and for all USA.com. We'll be right back with Tim Pool.
So you're about to go to a whole commercial break? This should be crazy, guys.
The state doesn't grant any rights, so it's preserving the Constitution where you are granted unalienable rights, meaning birthrights, by God. And the state only serves to recognize those rights and protect them. And so if the state ever infringes upon the rights that are naturally yours by birthright...
But who is saying natural rights?
Well, that's again, the founding fathers would be concerned. But natural rights being...
Republican?
Well, this is before the Republican Party.
Am I correct?
This is the Republican Party.
Yeah.
But I'm just confused. So you would say that communist China, conservative...
I would say it's autocracy that uses conservative.
Okay, but how is that conservative? For example, you say doing away with races. How is that?
You see how he keeps doing that shit? You see how he keeps doing it? I don't think you guys understand. Your brains are broken. It's okay. I understand. It's hard when your parents are related. It's hard to understand the world.
Conservative?
It conserves their power over the state or over the nation.
So you believe that conservatives want the state to have more power?
I think that we define conservative beliefs by our Republican values. But conservatism across the globe looks very different.
Okay. Well, I agree that different parties, because there's also the Conservative Party, for example, whereas here it's the Republican Party. We're talking about conservatism in the United States. It seems to me that your presupposition is that...
His presupposition is that he is a dipshit. This is the position.
Conservatives, Republicans want more state control want more government power as opposed to the Democrat Party, liberals. Okay, that would apply over health care, what you can eat, what you can drive, taxes. They're more left, they're more liberal, more open-minded on the left with those policies. Okay, I would just disagree with that, considering if you just look at marginal tax rates and you look at gun policy, you look at speech policy, you look at energy policy, what you can drive. But going back to political violence, you said you wouldn't want to ascribe the uptick that we both recognize.
Oh, they back pretending to be Charlie.
We're looking at them. We're monitoring them. Going to read some on the show today. freedom@charliekirk.com. That's freedom@charliekirk.com. As you guys know, Charlie read
We're
all
still trying to sell us stuff. We don't do the sales.
your emails. We're going to do the same. There are so many. I think that there's maybe even more now than there was before. So maybe even Charlie would have struggled to keep up with them now, but he was amazing at that. Please
keep up with what? Oh, he's probably talking about the chatters, maybe? I don't know.
Podcast, the Charlie Kirk Show podcast. Leave a review, 5 stars, do all the things. And Tim, how can people follow you?
At Tim Cast.
I'm just confused. So you took over this man's show? Is he like a coffin hopper?
On X, Timcast IRL on YouTube. Awesome. Or I have the Tim Pool Daily Show and Timcast IRL on all audio podcasts.
And you're on
This dude is fucking bipolar, okay?
Rumble too.
Oh yeah, Rumble. Man. Oof.
Yeah, well.
I had to say that first. Rumble.com/Timcast IRL, of course. That's our home.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the home of free speech. And by the way,
you don't have no home, bro. You already said you was homeless. You've been homeless for a long time.
No. I think, YouTube's been like loosening things up a little bit, but if it wasn't for Rumble, I don't know that we would have been able to keep Charlie on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
Right? It was like the counter pressure was super important.
Market pressure.
All right, we're going to wrap up hour one with the final segment, hour one, but I think we're just going to keep streaming through the break. So don't go.
So y'all just doing a whole... They took over this man's life, guys. That is scary. That's sad. Don't let nobody take over my show after I go, okay, guys? And don't let no... Like, y'all is creepy. Is y'all already banging his wife? I need to know.
Political violence to the left. What would be required for it to be ascribed to the left? What if they said it was? Like, what if someone's...
I would say, I'm looking at this globally.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about here in the United States, because that's what we're discussing. Yeah. What I'm asking you is, what would be required if someone were to commit an act of political violence and you consider it on the left? What if they said it's because they're on the left? Would that count?
I wouldn't say so, no.
No.
I think if somebody is doing an act towards the left, what side of the left and why? Because what we refer to as left is now a...
That's what we was asking you earlier, Goofy, and you did not have an answer. And I say we because me and that woman was asked you the same questions, and we realized you're just a paranoid schizophrenic.
Religion and ideology.
I would agree with that.
This is a secular movement.
Secular humanism.
And it's their microphone. I don't know what's going on with Steven's microphone right now, but it sounds like he got a new microphone from Temu, and it was the free gift on Temu when he got the baby clothes.
Well, you can really say demonic too, because a lot of those people are nuts. And to try to return back to their liberalist state, because in some ways, liberalists believe that they've been robbed of human rights. It's a radicalism of people.
Right.
Did you guys hear that the Hodge twins is really Steven's kid's parent, father? I don't know how it works or whatever. That's why he had twins, because he paid the Hodge twins to bang his wife because Steven don't like women.
Honestly, if the conservatives, maybe 20 years ago, started assigning themselves the idea of human rights or, public policy and things like that, there would probably been a switch around for the conservative movement to be more actually the radical people.
Do you mean like the Civil Rights Act or
Civil Rights
Emancipation Proclamation, freedom of speech policy, Section 230, Second Amendment? Do you mean those kinds of rights?
Those kinds of rights, but
if the right had been spearheading those?
And probably a little bit more socialist ideas. But of course...
Well, it's not just change the definitions, right? Mm-hmm. What you can't do, or I would disagree with doing, is saying racist means...
But you did change the definitions. You came in with very narrow definitions to prove a point.
Conservative, because it doesn't, right? Most slaveholders would be Democrat, and I know we would talk about how the parties have switched. You can't say KKK equal, those would be largely Democrats. There's nothing conservative about racism. There's
But
nothing.
Again, I think that we're
So that's are saying that
Republican parties
Yeah.
and Democratic parties when conservative.
That's what we're doing. We're discussing it here in the States.
Assignment of Republican, because if you want to argue that Republicans were liberating people, wouldn't that constitute as a left nowadays?
Why would that be left?
Because they're liberating people from slavery, and it's a Republican mindset. We don't.
No, I don't see how that would be left at all. As a matter of fact, I think your fundamental flaw that I would argue is this idea that the left is more concerned with individual liberty. That makes sense why you would ascribe conservatism to communism. I think you'd be.
Okay, some of this is making sense, but I feel like you're trying to diagnose her like the last girl diagnosed you as a paranoid schizophrenic.
Hard-pressed to find anyone who agrees with you. But right now, on the political violence, let me ask you this.
Karl Marx, he was a conservative.
Wanted to do away with the nuclear family, wanted to seize the means of production and distribution. I just won't agree with you that anything about that is conservative. The political violence, the assassination of Charlie Kirk.
Using conservative with Republican ideals, and
Okay.
the Republican ideal is
Okay.
to protect the family. In some ways, you could say it's conservative.
Sure,
family,
yeah,
but
conservative.
again,
And
that is
Karl Marx
our-
wanted the state to be in charge of the family.
That is the American perspective on conservatism.
Okay.
But the arrival of like what is liberalism, what is conservatism, we can't assign it to American Republican Party or Democratic Party because people hold left-leaning views.
So now we're like debating what, dictators right now? I'm so fucking confused.
In the Republican Party, sure. We can say that Republicans want to liberate the world from war nowadays, at least with Donald Trump's administration, and that the Democratic Party wanted to do more war in, what was it, like Bush's era? Right? So what is the confusing
Well, did you say Bush was a Republican? But I would.
But you gotta remember, Crowder didn't like Bush, and Crowder didn't become a Republican until Obama came on the set because Crowder's a racist.
Would agree with you.
Maybe is it Clinton? Clinton was.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this: all presidents have been more pro-war than how they campaigned, with the exception of Donald Trump. I think we would agree on that. Political violence, the assassination of Charlie Kirk in cold blood.
And don't talk about the two dudes he paid to bang his ex-wife.
Would that be left as political violence?
I think that was a Satanist.
Okay. Daryl Brooks, Waukesha, running people over. He's a black supremacist who wanted to kill cops and white people. Would that be left as political violence?
And he is a part of the BLM or black supremacy movement.
And would you not consider that among the left? Antifa, would that be considered among the left?
I think that they're assigning themselves a party to assimilate with, but that doesn't necessarily, it doesn't account for leftist values.
This is the same shit he said about all the people that just popped, you know what I mean?
Okay, so let me ask you, because I don't want to waste too much time on this. How would you curb political violence, right? The whole reason for crime statistics is a risk assessment to see who's most likely to be victimized and prevent it in the future. I get that you're in college, and I understand that things can be kind of nebulous or abstract, but there are real people dying, right? And some of them are people I've known sitting in this exact. Okay. So where is the violence coming from in the country right now when you take into account Charlie Kirk? I mean, what just happened here down the road at ICE, or Alvarado, I'm not sure how it's pronounced as well. We haven't gone more than 3 days in the last 3 weeks without significant acts of self-identified leftist terrorism.
Are you sure about that, bro? Are you sure about that? Because I feel like you're lying.
How would you curb it?
Oh, he's trying to pin that on the church thingy. Okay.
If you're going to curb political violence, and it seems like you're not willing to say that anything is political within the paradigm as it's universally recognized, what would you do?
I think people need to go off social media. They're becoming radicalized through that.
Okay.
How much time can you spend on TikTok?
Through like dudes like this that be streaming for like ever.
Like cycling through the same like violent ideologies, because conservatives can have.
I'm banned from TikTok because I said Xi Jinping has a small penis, so that's the Communist Party.
TikTok, I can say Instagram as well.
No, I'm just saying.
Does it really? I didn't know that. That's shocking, because you're always talking about somebody else's ding dang, willy willa bang bang.
Yeah, I agree that social media can be very toxic, but we're seeing real acts of violence. So assuming that you can't wave your magic wand and ban all social media.
Are you meaning in terms of like policies, like if I had a seat in...
Well, we need to identify the problem. Where do you think the political violence is coming from more right now?
I think on a global scale...
In the United States.
Both.
In the United States.
In the United States, I can't speak on the United States because I don't think it's just the United States.
No, but that's what the conversation.
Yeah, you can't. Where does he find these dumb bitches at? Does he pay for them? He probably pays for these dumb bitches. You think he subscribed to their OnlyFans? Oh no, they don't have PPs. They might.
Today. So if you don't want to, that's okay. But I appreciate you taking the time. I appreciate the disagreement respectfully. You're never going to get me to say that the Communist Chinese Party is right wing.
Well, of course you wouldn't, because you represent the Conservative Party and the Republican Party mostly.
Well, there's no Conservative Party here. I'm just conservative.
There are examples of people who are carrying out things violently, but it is not just the leftist.
He's a conservative in a dress. He has to address his conservatism with a dress.
Ideology. It is a religion to something greater. And that's what I just want to assign it. Is that because... Sure. Yeah, of course. And I kind of already iterated my points, but...
No, and I think, and we would agree, Karl Marx loathed religion and wanted to replace it with the religion of the state.
Yeah.
And that's what we see from these leftists, but... I appreciate you sitting down, Madison. Thank you very much. Are those furry pants?
They're furry pants. What?
Well, they're fur.
Bear pants.
They're bear pants. Sorry.
He asked her if she was a furry. Do you guys think Steven might be a furry? We're finding out new stuff every time we run into this dude again, because Steven Crowder is not only a cross-dresser, he's also appearing to be a third. But he never actually got furry yet. Do you think he's going to get furry this Halloween? He might be a female furry. Who knows? You think he's going to have a plug-in?
Yes, shoes that are very, very exclusive and rare. But
so what took you back when I said furry pants if they're bear pants? I didn't mean to offend you. They look like fur.
Well, they are bear.
Okay,
Boston.
They're bear pants.
Are you a fan of Boston?
No. Not very much. I only spent a little bit of time there with the hockey exchange. Montreal, we do an exchange with the Boston, and it's an intensely uneducated and often quite racist people. But thank you very much, Madison.
Of course.
I appreciate you taking the time. God bless.
God bless.
In a moment, if I may, for a brief intermission in the only time I'd be addressing the crowd this day, to issue a new challenge and lay out next steps.
Guys, this will be probably one of the only times that I address you kind of as a mass of people, because these usually end up being individual conversations.
He's about to talk to the fucking crowd. Why is he going to talk to the crowd? Is he going to try to get them to be violent like you?
But I wanted to take a moment just to kind of communicate something here. When we started Change My Mind, the idea was...
Hold on, I feel like this dude might have stole my fucking thumbnail or whatever. Let me see. Government shutdown. We force government shutdown. I think I put the right as violent. Change my mind. I feel like he stole my thing. White people are violent criminals. I think I started that shit off like white people are violent criminals. Change my mind. Prom stats are in. Master debater. Yeah. But never mind. It don't
back in 2016. I think the first ones were in 2017, so nearly a decade now. SMU was one of the very first places. And actually, I believe one of the very first places was me with a sandwich board in Burlington, Vermont, in a morph suit, because it wasn't on campus initially. But the more I went on campus, the more I saw the failures of the institutions. And I want to be really...
So what do you mean the failures of the institutions? This is where this myth comes from, because you guys can't afford to go to college?
Clear about something. This was never designed to mock, denigrate, or dunk on students who don't know any better. It was always designed to highlight the failures of the institutions, because I was dumbfounded as to the fact when leftists would sit down that this was the first time they were hearing mainstream conservative views. So it was always about highlighting the...
Yeah, but you're no longer mainstream, and you just pretended to be mainstream long enough to whatever goofy ass that you on, my guy.
Failures of institutions, and that includes media, but certainly academia. And that's why the next step, and something we've been trying to put together for a long time, but no one has agreed to do so, and why I'll be announcing this publicly and reading it out, we're actually going to be starting, or calling for, formal debates with professors at schools. And the only way we can think to get these people to show up is to offer up $10,000 to...
I feel like he did. He ain't having no formal debate with a professor because you've debated professors on this zone before and you got nowhere with it. You got nowhere with it. So you paying, like, you're going to filter out these people before you have them. I'm telling you, Crowder would never debate me.
The school for whatever cause of their choice to their institution and reach out and, oh, Lane, sorry, your phone locked. Where's Lane? Your phone, I have to read this off his phone because I just had to get the list. Can you hold it open? All right. And so we have reached out.
Why don't you have that shit on your own phone? Why didn't you have him text it to you, you fucking goofy? He's stupid.
And any Tom, Dick, Harry, or Karen who will respond and take the $10,000 offered up as a charitable contribution in any of the departments of political science or liberal arts at the University of Texas, at Kansas University, UCLA, Cal Berkeley, Stanford.
Oh, so he limited. He really limited who he's asking for. He said it had to be liberal arts or something else. Social sciences, I think he said. What the fuck did he say?
Take the $10,000 offered up as a charitable contribution in any of the departments of political science or liberal arts at the University of Texas, at Kansas University, UCLA, Cal Berkeley, Stanford, USC, Penn State, Columbia, NYU, Harvard, Boston University, any of their esteemed professors in these schools who are willing to have a debate with a college dropout comedian. They can name the time, the place.
No, why don't you debate a high school dropout? How about that? How about you debate a high school dropout? I'll debate you at Penn. Listen, give me a rack and I'll meet you down there. Give me a rack and I'll meet you down there. And if you give me another rack, I'll provide you a hotel room with security and probably a bando somewhere down north.
Moderator and the rules. It should be an easy day out. And I encourage anyone who has any friends at these institutions, or if you have an association, to encourage their professors to do so. Or we can have a civil dialogue and maybe get to the root cause as to why you've been failed as students. You've been failed. It's time to go straight to the top to the people who failed you. We'll announce this publicly. And
I want to see this. I hope somebody does debate him because he's going to look stupid. And I hope it's live because he's going to look stupid.
This list publicly, and I'll update you guys. If anyone reaches back out, no luck yet. I very much appreciate you doing the work that your professors, in many cases, refuse to do. Thank you.
I'm gonna pretend to be a professor. I'm gonna pretend to be a gender study professor just so I can get in there with him. What you guys think? What school should I meet him up at?
All right, now back to the regular programming, the changing of minds. Meet Andrew. So I'm asserting that
these live updates with what's going on with this government shutdown, because you guys got to know about this. You guys got to know about the government shutdown, guys. And you guys don't know about the government shutdown. It's been 13 hours, 7 minutes, and 21 seconds since the government shut down. Oh no! Oh no!
Top Senate Republican appears to downplay side talks on Affordable Care Act. From CNN's Sarah Ferris, Senate Majority Leader John Thune suggested that some Democrats are looking for a way out of the shutdown by having private talks with GOP senators on enhanced Affordable Care Act subsidies, but said a shutdown must first end before any talks become real. As Thune left the Senate floor after lawmakers failed to advance the GOP funding proposal, he was asked about the bipartisan huddle on the floor. I think they're looking for a way out, but the way out is to open up the government, he said. Asked about next steps, Thune said, "We'll tee up some votes when we get back and see if there's any movement." The Senate is expected to next vote on Friday. 26 minutes ago. Watch. Air traffic controllers and TSA agents are working without getting paid. From CNN staff, the federal government has shut down, but air traffic controllers and Transportation Security Administration employees who staff airport security checkpoints are typically deemed essential workers and are still on the job today, without a paycheck. Controller and TSA unions yesterday urged Congress to prevent a shutdown from starting in the first place. CNN's Brian Todd reports from Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport. 29 minutes ago, GOP Senator warns White House against firing federal workers, saying it could cause backlash and squander higher ground. From CNN's Nikki Robertson, Manu Raju, and Annie Grayer. GOP Senator Kevin Cramer expressed concern about the potential political ramifications for Republicans if the Trump administration follows through on threats from Office of Management and Budget Director Russ Vought to freeze funds and lay off thousands of federal workers during the government shutdown. There's the political ramification, perhaps that could cause backlash, at the polls. There's also it makes everything going forward more difficult for us, where you need 60 votes, and in the House where you have, moderate Republicans that that need to have some wiggle room. I just think he does run some risk of making future policy and spending issues more difficult, more challenging, Cramer told CNN. Asked if the administration should back off these threats, Cramer responded that he hopes it is just a negotiating tactic. I don't know for sure what their goal is with the threat. I hope it's just a tactic to get Democrats on board, the North Dakota Republican said. Asked by CNN for his reaction to Vaught's potentially unprecedented actions, GOP Senator Chuck Grassley said, "My reaction to it is the same thing for my staff that's not getting paid. You can't afford to live in this town without a regular paycheck. So get Schumer to get the votes to get government up and running. Then Vaught wouldn't have any excuse to do what he's doing." GOP Senator Bill Cassidy dodged when asked for his reaction to Vaught's threats, saying, "I'm not following that story. So let me just research it and get back to you." 39 minutes ago, Senator King, "I was right to vote to keep the government open." From CNN's Annie Grayer. Independent Senator Angus King says he doesn't feel pressure to change his vote in support of the Republican funding proposal. He will continue, he said, to vote to keep the government open, even though most Senate Democrats are poised to keep voting against it. "I was right. Why should I change my vote?" King said. 46 minutes ago, Republicans' House-passed funding bill again hits a Senate roadblock. From CNN's Morgan Rimmer. The Senate failed to advance Republican stopgap funding bill once again this afternoon in a 55-45 vote. To pass the bill that would fund the government for 7 weeks, Republicans need 60 votes. That means they need to secure at least 7 Democratic votes, if all GOP lawmakers vote to support it. 3 senators in the Democratic caucus crossed party lines Wednesday to support the GOP measure. 46 minutes ago, leaving national parks partially open is dangerous, park advocates say. From CNN's Rebecca Reese and Lily Howdaw. Visitors drive by unstaffed entrance stations at Acadia National Park in Maine on Wednesday. Robert F. Buchety/AP. National parks will stay partially open during the federal government shutdown, according to a contingency plan released Thursday by the U.S. Department of the Interior. Park advocates are sharply criticizing this decision, calling it dangerous to allow public access without adequate staffing. Emily Thompson, executive director of the Coalition to Protect America's National Parks, told CNN that leaving parks open without staff is irresponsible and puts both visitors and resources at risk. Bill Wade, head of the Association of National Park Rangers, echoed concerns about increased risks of vandalism, poaching, and slower emergency response. The contingency plan says park roads, trails, and open-air memorials will generally remain accessible, but areas with sensitive resources may close if they can't be protected by limited law enforcement staff. Some states, like Utah and Colorado, have pledged to fund park operations to keep them open. The furlough of more than 9,000 agency employees comes as America's most treasured sites were already strained by recent Trump administration layoffs. Advocates point to the 2018 shutdown, when limited staffing led to vandalism, theft, and environmental damage. Teresa Pierno, president of the National Parks Conservation Association, warned that further staff cuts could cause irreversible harm to the park's mission and resources. 57 minutes ago, GOP leaders say shutdown ends when Democrats pass short-term funding bill. From CNN's Veronica Stracqualersi and Arlette Saenz. Republican congressional leaders on Wednesday ruled out any changes to the House-passed stopgap bill, arguing that Democrats need to get on board with the measure while blaming them for the shutdown. House Speaker Mike Johnson suggested during a press conference on Capitol Hill that he isn't open to any changes to the House-passed 7-week stopgap bill, telling reporters, "There isn't anything we can do to make this bill any better for them. There's nothing to negotiate. There's nothing that we can pull out of this bill to make it any leaner or cleaner than it is. It's absolutely sparkling clean," he insisted. Senate Republican leader John Thune argued that the shutdown will only end once Senate Democrats vote for the stopgap bill that would fund the government until November. Chuck Schumer, at the behest of a bunch of...
But we only funding the government till November. Remember that, guys. Only till November.
Of liberal, far-left activist groups, has walked his Democrat colleagues into a boxed canyon. There's no way out. Folks, there's no way out. This could have been avoided, he said. And everybody is now asking the question, how does this end? Well, it ends when the Senate Democrats pick this bill up, passed by the House of Representatives, and vote for it, he said, holding up a copy of the continuing resolution. 1 hour 4 minutes ago, Democratic stopgap funding bill has failed to advance again. Lawmakers are voting on House-passed version. From CNN's Morgan Rimmer. The floor of the U.S. Senate chamber on Wednesday. Senate TV. The Senate failed to advance Democrats' stopgap funding bill once again this morning in a 47 to 53 party line vote. They are now voting again on advancing the GOP short-term funding bill, which has passed the House and garnered several Democrats' votes Tuesday night. 1 hour 6 minutes ago, major economic data suspended due to federal shutdown. From CNN's Matt Egan and Alicia Wallace. We've already reported that Wall Street is still digesting the possible implications of the shutdown on the economy. But the shutdown also threatens to derail major economic reports on trade, inflation, and gross domestic product, GDP, creating an information vacuum for investors and policymakers. The Bureau of Economic Analysis, a federal agency housed inside the Commerce Department, said today it is required to suspend operations until Congress appropriates funding for this fiscal year. That suspension will prevent the release of BEA economic data scheduled to be released during the shutdown, the agency said. If the shutdown lasts into next week, the first impact to BEA data would come on October 7th when new statistics on imports and exports were set to be released. A prolonged shutdown would delay the release of other major economic reports from the BEA due out later in the month, including the first estimate of third-quarter GDP on October 30th. The Federal Reserve's go-to inflation metric, the Personal Consumption Expenditures, PCE, price index, is scheduled for October 31st. These BEA economic reports jeopardized by the shutdown are in addition to the inflation and jobs reports that the Bureau of Labor Statistics says it will not release due to the shutdown. A Labor Department spokesperson confirmed to CNN that the government shutdown will also delay weekly data on jobless claims. 1 hour 10 minutes ago, Democratic senator explains why she crossed party lines to vote for GOP funding bill to avert a shutdown. From CNN's Allison Main and Manu Raju, Senator Catherine Cortez Masto speaks to reporters on Tuesday. And a moneymaker/Getty Images. Senator Catherine Cortez Masto, one of 3 in the Democratic caucus to vote Tuesday for Republicans' proposal to avert a shutdown, urged lawmakers from both parties to come together and help solve the country's problems. The Nevada Democrat told CNN she's concerned a shutdown will drive up costs that have already risen in her state from President Donald Trump's aggressive tariffs and also impact the tourism industry, which she noted is a major revenue generator. Cortez Masto said the Trump administration needs to directly address the issue of high costs and healthcare concerns rather than playing games here about winners and losers. There's a problem, and they need to act like adults. Get in a room and think about the American public, she continued. She pinned the shutdown stalemate on both sides, explaining, I think the American public is looking at Congress and saying, what are you doing? We solve these problems. That's where we should be. We should be doing our jobs, solving these problems, getting together and addressing what the American public, that I know in my state, what they are feeling, she said. Cortez Masto told CNN she's been calling her Democratic and Republican colleagues and urging them to come together because we need to come out of this shutdown and we need to fix this healthcare crisis. 1 hour 17 minutes ago, Democratic Senator Shaheen, a potential swing vote, says she's speaking with Republicans on getting out of a shutdown. From CNN's Morgan Rimmer, Senator Jean Shaheen speaks to reporters on Tuesday. And a moneymaker/Getty Images. Democratic Senator Jean Shaheen, a potential swing vote on the GOP stopgap funding bill, said that she is actively engaged in conversations with Republicans, though she will not back the House-passed package today. Shaheen said she thinks there is room to make changes to the Enhanced Affordable Care Act subsidies, as some Republicans have demanded reforms to the program. I do see room to address some of the concerns that we've heard our colleagues address. So hopefully we can continue those conversations, she said. I've talked to a number of people in the last 12 hours since we voted, and I think there is an opportunity to continue discussions. 1 hour 25 minutes ago, government websites blaming radical left may violate federal ethics rules, lawyers say. From CNN's Caitlin Polans. The landing page of the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development website, as seen on Wednesday. U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. The banners on government websites accusing the radical left in Congress of the government shutdown have caught the attention of ethics lawyers today, shocked by the Trump administration's politicization as the government shutdown commences. Some ethics lawyers say they believe the message being used by the Trump administration to blame the shutdown on the radical left in Congress, particularly in the big, bold banners on the Department of Housing and Urban Development website on Wednesday, may violate.
Last update at 107. We're going to CNN politics. I don't understand how that's another long update then. Alright, we're going to get to the White House press briefing in a few minutes. Is there any other stories going on right now though? Let's see. About CNN. The CNN homepage. Anything else with live updates? Anything else with live updates? USA. Grand blank. Crime and justice. Oh. It's been a while since we heard anything about what's going on with this one.
September 29th, 2025, Michigan church attack. What we covered here. All the missing have been accounted for a day after a gunman rammed a truck into a Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Michigan, began shooting, then set a fire that destroyed the building. 4 people were killed in the attack. Some of the 8 injured were shot, while others suffered from smoke inhalation. The gunman, killed by officers within minutes, was identified as Thomas Jacob Sanford, who served with the Marines and was an Iraq War veteran. His family is cooperating as the FBI investigates the attack as an act of targeted violence. The attack was among 324 mass shootings this year in the U.S. and the latest place of worship, from a Catholic church in Minneapolis to a synagogue in Pittsburgh and a Sikh temple in Wisconsin, devastated by gun violence. 12:28 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, September 30th, 2025. I saw a person who was calm and collected. Politician says of encounter with gunmen before shooting. From CNN's Karina Sui. Days before the attack, Chris Johns, a candidate for the city council in Burton, Michigan, said he met the gunman while canvassing. The very first thing he asked me was, "What do you know about Mormons?" Johns told CNN's Laura Coates, describing each question that followed as more pointed and direct. Johns said it was clear that Thomas Sanford had an interaction with the LDS Church, but did not suspect anything violent of him. "What I saw was a person who was calm and collected," Johns said. "I'm running to be a city councilman. If there was anything that would have endangered any resident of both, whether it be Burton or even the greater area, I would have made a phone call." Sanford repeated multiple times that Mormons were the Antichrist. John said he suspects Sanford's reasons for the attack were related to a negative interaction with the LDS Church, though a motive has still not been determined by investigators. Link copied. 9:38 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, September 29th, 2025. Motive is still unknown as authorities continue investigation. Here's the latest. CNN staff. A makeshift memorial of flowers sits on the street next to police tape near the Michigan church on Monday. Emily Elkinen / Getty Images. Authorities are shifting their full attention to uncovering exactly how and why a shooter attacked worshipers at a Michigan church on Sunday. A mass shooting and devastating fire at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Grand Blanc Township, Michigan, left 4 people dead and several others wounded. Search crews have combed through the rubble of the chapel, and everyone is now accounted for. Here's the latest on the investigation. The victims. Of the 8 patients that Henry Ford Genesis Hospital received on Sunday, 1 died and 7 have survived, according to hospital leadership. The 8 patients ranged in age from 6 to 78. 5 of them suffered gunshot wounds, and 3 suffered from smoke inhalation, hospital leadership said. Everyone accounted for. Search efforts for victims among the debris of the chapel are complete, and no additional remains were found today, a law enforcement source briefed on the investigation told CNN. Earlier Monday, authorities said they believed everyone who was inside at the time of the attack had been accounted for. Unknown motive. Investigators identified the shooter as Thomas Jacob Sanford. The FBI is investigating reports that the Marine and Iraq War veteran hated people of Mormon faith. White House spokesperson Caroline Leavitt told Fox News on Monday. A search of his residence is underway, and authorities are working to obtain search warrants for digital media that may help shed light on a motive, a law enforcement source told CNN. Explosive devices found. Some suspected explosive devices linked to the incident were found at the scene, officials said. It's unclear if any explosives were also used to start the fire, authorities said, which they believe the suspect deliberately set. September 29th, 2025, Michigan church attack.
I know, we was way past this. I don't know what happened. So
Shooter as Thomas Jacob Sanford. The F.
Today, by and large, the tone, the temperature in this country, and the majority of political violence is coming from the left. Okay. And it's reaching a really serious boiling point. I've been observing it for a long time. Yeah. Doesn't mean that violence doesn't occur.
We were taking all bets. Who do you think will win in this debate? Do you think it will be the guy in the blue shirt or the guy in the blue hat that suspiciously looks like it's I feel like it's 3 paid actors. I feel like this is a whole theater, guys. None of this is real, other than the psychiatric help that Crowder was seeking earlier in an episode. I think that was his therapist.
Across the board, but predominantly from the left. If you disagree, you're more than welcome to change my mind.
Yeah, so one thing, I'm curious where you think that political violence comes from, just kind of as a general.
Where the violence on the left comes from?
Just where political violence, comes from, or on the left specifically, either way.
Yeah, well, I can tell you where it comes from on the left exactly.
Yeah.
I can tell you because I've been on the receiving end many times. So the reason...
Does it come from trailer park girls going around the outside?
I stopped doing Change My Mind for years. Is because every single time out there was some kind of attack.
Yeah.
For exactly the kind of conversation we're having right now.
Right.
And the ones that you've seen. I don't come out and instigate, but some people yell at me. Rocks, concrete milkshakes, Molotov cocktails, slashing tires, doxing.
Here we go again, guys. Here we go again.
With Charlie Kirk, you're just seeing one that got through. He had all the security before he was assassinated in an act of leftist terrorism because there were many close calls.
Yeah.
So that then empirically, that the recent polls from YouGov, from Reuters show that a majority of those on the left believe that political violence is somewhat to completely acceptable.
Yeah.
In contrast to the right, so I'll address leftist political violence. If you refer to your political opposition, Donald Trump and his voters, as fascist, compare them to Nazis, say they're racist, they support oppression of blacks through the police force, say that they want to commit genocide and erase trans people because they don't believe that.
But some of you guys do, and you can't accept that some of you guys do. We're not trying to really... You're not addressing the issue. You're just doing whataboutism. Steven Crowder is on his whataboutism right now. And what about Steven Crowder? 2 trailer park girls go around the outside. One's his wife. Ooh.
Children should transition. They're biological men and women's sports. They're sexist, homophobic, and say, for example, specifically on Donald Trump, and this is the entire DNC, as far as national figureheads, saying, and you won't have another election again.
Yeah.
Because he won't give up the reins of power. If I believe that, I'd be in the street with a gun.
Right. So I guess from my view...
Do you understand that? Would you agree?
So you hear what he's saying, right? He's basically letting him know he's strapped because he's fucking cuckoo.
That kind of premise?
No, I understand where that's coming from. And I think really, what has changed recently is there's been more hatred in politics. I guess can we kind of agree with that?
I think that there's been increasing violence. I think that progressive...
Dude is fucking stupid. Steven Crowder is stupid. If you like Steven Crowder, he's stupid.
Necessarily is predicated on divisiveness and hatred.
It's okay. I used to like the dude that, what the fuck was his name? It was on Mad TV. I liked a lot of stupid comedians, but you like a stupid comedian? Hey, go for it.
I don't think that's the case with conservatism.
Interesting. I guess what part of progressivism do you think comes with that? I mean,
racial division, gender division, classist division.
Right.
You don't see the right saying, hey, these people are fascist and they want to genocide you.
No.
I think it's a necessary because, for example, leftism, socialism, right, you seize the means of production and distribution.
Right, yeah.
That requires violence. Lowering marginal tax rates does not.
Oh, so this dude is left? I didn't think he was left. I feel like he's somebody that works for Steven, and we just don't know it yet.
Right. Yeah. I think there are forms of leftist ideology that have violence inherent in them, but I think there are also a lot on the political left. For example, my siblings, we get along fantastic, especially in an age where people lose relationships over politics. I'm really thankful to not have that be the case. Have 2 siblings on the left. Both my parents are moderate political right. And
can I ask you, are your siblings
So, huh? What the fuck did he say?
Would you say significantly left?
I'd say, as policy-wise, fairly so.
How did they respond to the Charlie Kirk assassination?
Oh, they were like fully in support of my devastation at the fact.
How did they respond to so many people on their side celebrating?
What do you mean you're we gotta rewind this a little bit, guys. I'm fucking lost.
Not have that be the case. Have two siblings on the left. Both my parents are moderate political right. And
can I ask you, are your siblings would you say significantly left?
I'd say, as policy-wise, fairly so.
How did they respond to the Charlie Kirk assassination?
So this isn't a change my mind debate. This is a fluff piece. Because he just admitted that he's a Republican. He's Steven Crowder Republican.
Oh, they were like fully in support of my devastation at the fact.
How did they respond to so many people?
You can tell by how he talks with the lisp, and he talks like this because like they wear dresses for Halloween, guys.
On their side celebrating the Charlie Kirk assassination.
Oh, they were fully against that. And
well, that's why you can be friends with them,
right? And I think at the end of the day, I guess I'll just explain my view a little bit. As someone who's a man of faith and trying to kind of get less into the political sphere and more towards like how can I be bold in my faith.
Mm-hmm.
He's a man of faith. His faith is he's a prostitution.
I don't see political violence as the problem. I see it as the symptom, and I think the problem is our lack of religion. And I think in order to then solve that problem, we need to kind of...
What's up with all these fucking closet conservatives? These fucking... They in the closet. Come on, bro.
Tackle it from the roots. And I know one thing you talk about, for example, is...
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, I think, like, we see a lot of crime in inner cities, right? Especially with young kids. That's not the problem. The problem is fatherlessness, right? And the crime is kind of the symptom of that. I think I kind of see this in the same vein, right? Where we see this increasing political violence, and we have the question of, like, how do we solve it, right? And I know I heard you kind of talking before, and you said, like, well, it's on the left to solve it. But I think...
On the left, what was that?
That it's on the people on the left to solve the violence problem.
No, I said it's incumbent upon them to take accountability for it.
Yeah.
And just even...
Yeah, because you don't understand. He's going to tell you. He's going to tell you what happened to him, I think, maybe.
Because I want you to continue, but if I may address your point. Yeah. Yes, I do believe that godlessness is the root. Is that what you're saying?
Right.
The root cause of it. Okay. Who seeks to replace faith in the Father with the state? Who seeks to replace God with the state?
I mean, I think it's the ideology of atheism more so than it is a political.
No, it's a political ideology of the left. If you look into Marx and Engels.
I mean, I think that's a symptom, though.
Well, but that is the goal of leftist policies, right? Is replace God with the state. State is your God.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
But your God is a dress.
It's the root of the left.
In some vein, I think that's true. But again, I think religion comes first, and then politics outgrow from that. And it's interesting. So one thing, when Charlie was shot,
I can't tell my guy. Like, I'm pretty sure if you don't know,
I was devastated, especially as a young conservative man. It kind of really hit close to home because, like, I was like, he was like an older brother to me, right? Like, it was like just like a shocking moment. And like seeing people celebrate it, I was like, they'd celebrate my death too if they cared enough, right? I'm not relevant, but if I was relevant, they'd celebrate my death too.
Yeah.
And I caught myself in the day after. I go, I don't know how we can live with these people. And I'm kind of mad at...
Okay, so now we know for certain this is a fluff piece. So how is he going to change your mind about... I'm fucking lost on this one, guys. I'm fucking lost. If you guys can...
Myself for saying that. And the reason is...
Why?
Jesus never lived like that, right?
What do you mean?
His followers never lived like that, right? They endured persecution as the cost to spread his message. And I think that as either conservatives or people who are followers of Christ, we're called to do the same thing. And I think that it's not necessarily like awful to say something like this, but I think it can also be kind of pragmatically unproductive because I don't think it actually goes at what the root cause is. And I think if we want to tackle... Sorry.
No, that's fine. Don't worry. You can mess this all up.
If we want to tackle the root cause, our efforts should be on that, right? Should be on spreading Jesus and like his message and what he taught.
I'm not sure if that's where Crowder wants to go with this, though. Crowder wants a civil war, and he's on that campus to recruit young kids like you for his civil fucking war.
Sure. Well, I agree with that, and we do discuss faith quite a bit. And in the show we have Friday Apologetics.
Crowder's about to put on a dress and a wig and top this little young boy off.
Next episode.
Yeah.
But I would say that I would posit that it's misguided.
Okay.
Sell your cloak and buy a sword.
Right.
Right. Jesus did not ask for his followers to die for their faith as a primary mechanism of spreading the faith. And he did talk about protecting themselves. Jesus conquered death. You can't.
Right.
Now, I know we all conquer death through the salvation, right? But as far as here, that's a very different, and I think that asking people on the right, especially people who are fathers, mothers, to willingly put ourselves out there and
Crowder finally started reading the Bible, maybe. Maybe he only read a little parts of it.
endure not only violent assault, but assassination. I just don't know how that's going to solve anything. Maybe you would have a point, and I don't know that I would agree theologically, if after the death of Charlie Kirk, if the left, and I've been saying this, the off-ramp...
Is Crowder about to start saying he got murdered again?
The left was saying, okay, look, we said that these people are fascists. We said that they're Nazis. We said, and people out there, my God, believe them. We're really sorry. We need to tone this down. Instead, you saw a gleeful celebration thereafter. Polls that show a majority of those on the left believe it's somewhat to completely acceptable, and then blaming the right for violence and saying, you guys need to tone down the temperature.
But you guys were calling for a war seconds afterwards.
There is no living with those people in their current state until they change. They need to be redeemed. And I understand they need it. They need.
So what the fuck do you want to do? You want to start doing what the fuck are them things called? Re-education camps?
Christ to redeem them. Right. But we can't be sitting ducks.
No. I mean, I don't think it's wrong to defend ourselves.
Yeah, like I said, he's trying to recruit him. This is a recruiting motion. Like, you see the little cross on his shirt? See, I knew what it was. This is like a Nazi meeting right here.
Well, like, if we look at how the apostles taught, right, I think all but one were crucified or exiled for their views, right? Jesus said, not you might undergo persecution. He said you will go under persecution if you follow me, right? I mean, baptism is referred to as joining Jesus in death, right? We have these we have these very strong, either depending on the situation, metaphors or direct instructions that we will undergo persecution. And the reason that we're able to do that is we know that we're saved through Christ, right? It's the most beautiful thing, right?
And I understand, but this is one thing where I do get off with a lot of modern Christian theology.
Right.
And I think that you'll probably find more consistent teachings like in Orthodoxy, for example. And I'm not Orthodox or even, what traditionally the...
I don't understand what this man's talking about. I don't understand what we're changing minds about right now. So this was just a gotcha for his brainwashing after you watch it.
We love this country.
Yeah. Okay, guys. We're not going to be subject to his brainwashing anymore. I'll get us back into what's going on with... What the fuck is that joint called? U.S. About Amazon, CNN. Doing a speech, guys.
Conversation with the administration about some of the critical needs that we see that need to get fixed over the next few months. We recognize it's kind of absurd, and a lot of them will admit in private that it's kind of absurd to shut.
Mic check. Turn down his mic. I didn't know he was gonna have my fool like that. He got his mic from Temu, and now they want to tear up that shit.
People's government over these disagreements would just agree to negotiate with us in good faith on these issues, and of course we're having that conversation with them. Then there's another category, people.
You could have went to like any program for toddlers that made microphones and bought one of them microphones, and it probably would have been better. Do you guys think that J.D. Vance is still on the...
Who say, give us everything we want or we're going to keep the government shut down. We just write those people off because they're not negotiating in good faith. And frankly, we don't need them. We've already got 3 more Democrats last night than I thought we would get. And I think it's because they recognize the illogic of the position of taking the entire American economy hostage because they don't get...
So is the government really shut down as of now? Like... What they do, they all get paid. Is it really even shut down yet? I want to know.
Their policy priorities. So 3 moderate Democrats joined 52 Republicans last night. We need 5 more in order to reopen the government. And that's really where we're going to focus, is how to get those 5 additional Democrats.
Thanks, Mr. Vice President. First 2 questions. Are there plans to meet Democratic leaders again in the coming days, or are you planning on plucking out senators one by one?
So that's the whole question?
No, I got a second question.
Okay, go ahead and ask the second question.
So the president's...
No, the second question is probably a fucking follow-up. Like, why is you trying to rush this shit, my guy?
Been posting some images of Leader Jeffries and Senator Schumer.
I saw
recently. You've said that you're interested in good faith negotiations with these leaders, but
I want to know how we're going to get these med beds if there's about to be a government shutdown. Because I heard we was getting all free med beds from the White House the other day.
what message does that send? Is it helpful to post pictures of Leader Jeffries in a sombrero if you're trying to have good faith talks with him?
Oh, I think it's funny. The president's joking, and we're having a good time. You can negotiate in good faith while also poking a little bit of fun at some of the absurdities of the Democrats' positions, and even, poking some fun at the absurdity of the Democrats themselves. I mean, I'll tell Hakeem Jeffries.
Well, I would say it's not really racist unless Hakeem Jeffries is like a quarter Hispanic or something.
Jeffries, right now, I make this solemn promise to you that if you help us reopen the government, the sombrero
But if he is, then it's probably racist, and he looks like he might be.
memes will stop. And I've talked to the President of the United States about that. Now, to your first question, are we negotiating one-on-one? Are we negotiating in groups? Look, I will go to the U.S. Capitol right now and meet with Chuck Schumer or any Senate Democrat if it helps us reopen the government. Most of the conversations,
But you're not.
my experience at least, have been one-off. We're also, of course, relying on some of our Senate Republican colleagues who have good relationships across the aisle. We're going to do whatever we have to do is the answer. And I think it's tough to predict what shape this negotiation is going to take over the next few months. But I feel good about the fact that Democrats already realize privately.
I'm just trying to figure out how you can't do the reconciliation. Like, you guys don't have 50%. This ain't making a lot of sense, because it's telling me there's some Republicans that ain't going for this shit, too.
The fundamental irrationality of their position. I hope that they're going to publicly acknowledge it and reopen the government. Guy in the back, yeah.
Mr. Vice President, you responded to a post on X of Chuck Schumer on the House floor back in 1996, railing against illegal immigrants receiving taxpayer-funded benefits. You said Chuck Schumer once recognized that it was disastrous to give illegal aliens rewards for breaking the law. Now he wants to shut down the government unless we reward illegal aliens.
And watch, they're going to say they got a clip of J.D. Vance saying the opposite.
For breaking the law. Why has Chuck Schumer changed his stance?
That's a good question. Actually, it's a very tough question. Asking me to get in the head of Chuck Schumer is not a place I particularly want to be, but my basic read on it is...
That one was a nice shot. That one was funny.
...that the entire Democratic Party, the political leadership, not every Democrat nationwide, but the political leadership of their party has got it into their heads that the only way to be compassionate is to be compassionate to illegal aliens rather than American citizens. If you go back to what Bill Clinton was saying, even Barack Obama in some cases, what he was saying about illegal immigration 10, 15, 20 years ago, you would put them on the MAGA right based purely on their rhetoric around illegal immigration. So I don't know why they've gone so far to the left. I think it's bad for the country. I think it's bad for them politically.
And this is what I keep telling you guys, man. You don't realize that a lot of these people you talking about or whatever, he said, all these people back in the day, if you put them on the stage now, they would be MAGA right. Because MAGA right ain't conservative. There's a difference.
But our principle, all I can do is speak for the president that I serve and the country, the administration that I serve right now. We believe that the American people's government exists for the American people. That means the people who have the legal right to be here, and that's why we're fighting to reopen the government. And unfortunately, the Democrats are fighting to shut it down for the benefit of illegal aliens. And I'll take a couple more, and then I'll let Caroline. I'll go back to my day job, so Caroline.
Take my question. Take my question. Take my question. Are you still taking dog food?
Go back to hers. All right. Yes.
Mr. Vice President. Just going back to the sombrero. You said that the president's joking, but Hakeem Jeffries says that these memes were racist. What's your response to that? And just if I may briefly go off topic, Secretary Hegseth yesterday made an edict about no more beardos in the military. Just wondered what...
Sorry, what did he say?
Beardos.
Beards.
Sorry, that's my accent. Just wondered your response to that.
I didn't see that particular comment. I thought Pete gave a hell of a speech, and a speech that really is just oriented around returning the American military to the very high standards that it has had for virtually its entire history until Joe Biden came along and decided to lower.
Take my question. Take my question. Take my question. Because you and Vivek are friends. Did you ever pay Vivek to fuck your wife?
Standards. I think it was bad for our military, and it was bad for our troops. When I was a young United States Marine, I did not have a beard. I am now the vice president, so I get to do what I want to do. But I think Pete's...
Oh, that is a valid question, though. Yeah, because, like, I was kind of mad about that, too. You guys see me. You guys know I got a beard. You would think J.D. Vance would be a little bit irritated. Like, what the fuck you mean a beardo, you fucking weirdo?
Trying to reimplement high standards, and that's a very good thing. On the sombrero thing, I mean, Hakeem Jeffries said it was racist, and I know that he said that, and I honestly don't even know what that means. Like, is he a Mexican American that is offended by having a sombrero meme?
And that's what I was saying, right? If he is, it's possible. It's possible. It's definitely possible.
I saw one of the major TV stations put the meme up and then say, this is AI generated. And he had like the curly animated mustache too. It's like, do you really not realize the American people recognize that?
Well, we needed to know if it was AI, if it was Photoshop.
He did not actually come to the White House wearing a sombrero and a black curly animation mustache. Like, give the country a little bit of credit. We're all trying to do a very important job for the American people. The President of the United States likes to have a little bit of fun when he's doing it, and I think that's okay. I'll take one more question.
Mr. Vice President, in every previous shutdown, workers have been furloughed, not laid off. So why does the president want to fire some workers and not just furlough
Maybe this
them?
will work
Why is
better.
this shutdown any different?
Well, first of all, we haven't made any final decisions about what we're going to do with certain workers. What we're saying is that we might have to take extraordinary steps, especially the longer this goes on. We're going to have to take extraordinary measures to ensure the people's government operates, again, not perfectly, because it's not going to operate perfectly.
Well, how's it going to operate at all if you guys can't pass a budget? There hasn't been a budget passed since fucking, I don't remember when's the last time we had a full budget pass, but we haven't had a budget pass in forever. Like, they're supposed to be finalizing the budget for next year.
In the midst of a shutdown, but operate as well as it possibly can. And I think that the Democrats, if they're so worried about the effect this is having on the American people, and they should be, what they should do is reopen the government, not complain about how we respond to the fact that Chuck Schumer and the Democrats have shut down the government in the first place. Thank you all. Caroline.
He said no more question hoes. No more question hoes.
All right, guys. Well, let's let the fun continue. Vice President's a very busy man, and I'm happy to take some more questions. I know.
Let's let the fun continue. What the fuck y'all got going on over there? Is this like an OF tape or something?
There's more news today. Aside from the shutdown, we can focus on the shutdown if you want, but let's go ahead. Kate, why don't you start?
The president talked about doing things that he said were irreversible.
Yeah, we want to focus on the shutdown. Is this like an all-day live stream to, like, fuck with people?
During the shutdown, cutting vast numbers of people, he said, and cutting programs. Can you specify what exactly?
Is Karen getting paid? If Karen's not getting paid, do you guys want to subscribe to her OF because she's not getting paid?
He's referring to what's on the table and what's going to be cut.
Look, I think the vice president just referred to this in some of the answers that he gave regarding the layoffs. There are unfortunate consequences to a government shutdown, and the federal government is not receiving any cash at the moment. And so,
are you about to get laid off? Karen's about to get laid off. Trump's going to have an AI bitch replace her.
The Office of Management and Budget has been tasked with looking over.
It might be too late for her to make one of them funny style sites because the AI already replaced her.
The receipts and looking over the budget of the entire federal bureaucracy, and as the vice president said, determining what needs to continue to go out the door and what can we continue to keep running and what unfortunately is going to have to come to an end. So those decisions are being made, and unfortunately layoffs are very likely, as the vice president just said, going to be a part of that.
And has the White House had any direct response from Hamas from the peace proposal that was laid out? The president said he would give 3 or 4 days, but is there a hard deadline now, or what are the next steps here?
I will reiterate what the president of the United States said, 3 or 4 days, and I can tell you that there are some very sensitive discussions that are taking
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, that's 4 days.
Place, but I certainly don't want to get ahead of any announcement at this podium. I'm going to let Special Envoy Witkoff and the President of the United States handle that.
Sure you will.
Thank you, Caroline. 2 questions. First of all,
of any announcement at this.
So we don't know what's going on with the government shutdown? And Vance is no longer talking to the government, to the country. GOP funding proposal hits another Senate roadblock. Okay. What is going on now? Government shuts down after Trump and Congress fail. What's new, guys?
Vance says Schumer is voting against funding bill because he's terrified of primary from left flank. From CNN's Donald Judd. Vice President J.D. Vance told reporters Wednesday that Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is refusing to back
You mean like a few minutes ago?
Republicans' plan to fund the government because he's terrified he's going to face a primary challenge from the progressive wing of his party. I think a lot of Americans are asking themselves, why did this happen? Why did the Democrats shut down the government despite, as White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said, voting on the exact same piece of legislation 6 months ago? Vance said during a White House press briefing, the reality here, and let's be honest about the politics, is that Chuck Schumer is terrified he's going to get a primary challenge from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. The reason why the American people's government...
And she probably going to beat him, too. She probably going to beat him, too. And then she'll be the senator for like the next 80 years.
Government is shut down is because Chuck Schumer is listening to the far-left radicals in his own party because he's terrified of a primary challenge. Democrats have demanded that Republicans engage in negotiations over reversing Medicaid cuts and extending expiring Enhanced Affordable Care Act subsidies before voting to reopen the government. Pressed Tuesday in an interview, Ocasio-Cortez dismissed claims Schumer was voting against the continuing resolution to fund the government over primary concerns. This is so not about me in this moment. This is about people being able to insure their children. And I will say, because I saw some senators speculating about this, and I saw some Republican members of Congress saying, oh, well, if we have this shutdown, it's because of AOC, she told MSNBC. Well, Vance says he's in private talks with Senate Democrats to end shutdown. From CNN's Adam Cankren, Vice President J.D. Vance said Wednesday that he's spoken with both Republican and Democratic senators as part of an effort to flip the handful of votes needed to end the government shutdown. We need 5 more in order to reopen the government, and that's really where we're going to focus, is how to get those 5 additional Democrats, he said during a White House press briefing. Vance characterized Senate Democrats as split over their willingness to negotiate a funding deal, saying the administration has already ruled out talking with those unwilling to back off the party's demands before the shutdown ends. We just write those people off because they're not negotiating in good faith, and frankly, we don't need it, Vance said. He added that he believes there are several Democrats who recognize the illogic of the position that they've taken in shutting down the government and are willing to negotiate a quick end to the standoff. A lot of them will admit in private that it's kind of absurd to shut down the people's government over these disagreements, Vance said. And of course, we're having that conversation with them. 5 minutes ago, Vance says Schumer is voting against funding bill because he's terrified of primary from left flank. From CNN's Donald Judd, Vice President J.D. Vance told reporters Wednesday that Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is refusing to back Republicans' plan to fund the government because he's terrified he's going to face a primary challenge from the progressive wing of his party. I think a lot of Americans are asking themselves, why did this happen? Why did the Democrats shut down the government despite, as White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said, voting on the exact same piece of legislation 6 months ago? Vance said during a White House press briefing, the reality here, and let's be honest about the politics, is that Chuck Schumer is terrified he's going to get a primary challenge from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. The reason why the American people's government is shut down is because Chuck Schumer is listening to the far-left radicals in his own party, because he's terrified of a primary challenge. Democrats have demanded that Republicans engage in negotiations over reversing Medicaid cuts and extending expiring Enhanced Affordable Care Act subsidies before voting to reopen the government. Pressed Tuesday in an interview, Ocasio-Cortez dismissed claims Schumer was voting against the continuing resolution to fund the government over primary concerns. This is so not about me in this moment. This is about people being able to insure their children. And I will say, because I saw some senators speculating about this, and I saw some Republican members of Congress saying, oh, well, if we have this shutdown, it's because of AOC, she told MSNBC. Well, if that's the case, my office is open and you are free to walk in and negotiate with me directly. Because what I'm not going to do is tolerate 4 million uninsured Americans because Donald Trump decided one day that he wants to just make sure that kids are dying because they don't have access to insurance. 9 minutes ago, Speaker Johnson defends furloughed federal workers as OMB threatens mass firings. From CNN's Veronica Stracqualersi, House Speaker Mike Johnson defended furloughed government workers as the White House Budget Office has warned of layoffs amid the government shutdown. Asked by CNN's Dana Bash Wednesday if government workers who are furloughed during this government shutdown should be permanently fired, Johnson said, no, I wouldn't say that, because the people that are furloughed right now are hardworking American federal workers. Pressed on who should then be fired during the shutdown, Johnson said, I don't know. You have to show me a proposal of what is being presented. An Office of Management and Budget memo had instructed federal agencies to prepare plans for mass firings should a shutdown occur. OMB Director Russell Vought was set to hold a call with Republicans Wednesday afternoon. Johnson told CNN he didn't know if firings are certainly happening, but said of Vought, I'm going to find out what his plans are. The speaker, again, insisted that Vought has the authority to determine what's essential during a shutdown, and added that he supports downsizing the scope and scale of the federal government. 18 minutes ago, Vance says White House is open to healthcare deal, as long as government is funded first. From CNN's Adam Cankren. Vice President J.D. Vance on Wednesday again signaled openness to negotiating with Democrats on healthcare, but only after the current government shutdown is over. The president was more than happy to say, "Yes, let's sit down and talk about how we can solve the healthcare crisis that we inherited from the Biden administration," Vance said during a press briefing, referring to President Donald Trump's meeting earlier this week with Democratic leaders. "But it's one thing to say that we should solve the healthcare crisis for Americans. It's another thing to say we're going to shut down the government unless we give the Democrats every single thing that they want." Democratic lawmakers have demanded concessions from the White House in exchange for funding the government, including extending Enhanced Affordable Care Act subsidies that are due to expire at the end of the year. But the White House and Republican congressional leaders have so far refused, falsely claiming Democrats are seeking to fund health care for undocumented immigrants and insisting that no negotiations can occur until the government is reopened. 12 minutes ago, Press Secretary casts blame on Democrats in opening shutdown messaging salvo. From CNN's Betsy Klein. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt speaks during a briefing on Wednesday. Evan Vucci/AP. The White House offered an opening messaging salvo starkly casting blame on Democrats for the government shutdown, pointing to bipartisan support for keeping the government open. "We need to keep the government open and funded, and individuals and organizations across the political spectrum, across the country, agree with the Trump administration and Republicans," White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said at today's press briefing. Leavitt pointed to comments from Teamsters labor union leader Sean O'Brien and the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, as well as moderate Democratic Senators Catherine Cortez Masto and John Fetterman, calling on Democratic senators to pass a bill to fund the government. "Democrats need to stop sabotaging our country and holding the American people hostage in the country. Democrats need to do their jobs. The American people want the government reopened," Leavitt said. Democrats have demanded that Republicans engage in negotiations over reversing Medicaid cuts and extending expiring Enhanced Affordable Care Act subsidies before voting to reopen the government. But Leavitt pointed to health care programs that are at risk amid a shutdown. The Women, Infants, and Children's Supplemental Nutrition Program, Community Health Center funding, and other programs, she said, are now all at risk. "The most vulnerable in our country are being punished. If Democrats actually cared about health care, they would applaud the actions taken by President Trump," she said. 16 minutes ago, DOJ asking to delay court deadlines against Trump because of the shutdown. From CNN's Caitlin Polans and Devin Cole. President Donald Trump speaks to the media as he returns to the White House on Tuesday. Win McNamee/Getty Images. The Justice Department has begun to ask federal courts to pause deadlines in lawsuits that have challenged President Donald Trump's remaking the federal government. Many of the lawsuits had been receiving emergency attention from the courts because of the extent of the drastic cutbacks and changes Trump has made across federal agencies. But the shutdown, the Justice Department argues, means government attorneys can't meet court deadlines for the time being. Stopping the lawsuits from moving forward because of the shutdown would theoretically help the administration avoid accountability in some of the cases and stretch out the litigation. In some of the lawsuits, judges have previously and temporarily blocked Trump's changes, though many have been allowed to remain in place, especially related to government worker firings, or are difficult to reverse. One such notice came today in a case in Maryland's federal court, where unions and nonprofit groups sued the administration for cutting back AmeriCorps and other similar federal community service programs. A judge previously said that union members who worked for AmeriCorps who were placed on leave by the administration should return to work, and some were receiving back pay. Judge Matthew Maddox of the Federal District Court in Maryland also ordered the DOJ to give an update on the status of the AmeriCorps workers every 2 weeks, which the department says it now can't do. Absent an appropriation, Department of Justice attorneys and employees of the federal defendants are prohibited from working, even on a voluntary basis, except in very limited circumstances, the DOJ told the judge. Although we greatly regret any disruption caused to the court and the other litigants, the government hereby moves for a stay of all current deadlines in this matter until Department of Justice attorneys are permitted to resume their usual civil litigation functions. 33 minutes ago, federal agency asking employees to blame Democrats for shutdown. From CNN's Annie Grayer. A federal worker at the Small Business Association who was furloughed as the result of the government shutdown was shocked when agency leadership sent employees politically charged suggested
Yeah.
Suggested language to use in their automated out-of-office emails during the shutdown. The message, reviewed by CNN, took the highly unusual step of encouraging federal employees. Bipartisan senators engaged in informal discussion over options to end the shutdown. From CNN's Morgan Rimmer, Manu Rao, Sarah Ferris, Annie Grayer, Arlette Saenz, and Nikki Robertson. Senator Richard Blumenthal speaks to reporters about the government shutdown as he arrives for the Senate Democrats' lunch meeting in the U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C. on Tuesday. Bill Clark/CQ Roll Call/AP. A rotating group of bipartisan senators were engaged in informal discussion over options to end the shutdown on the Senate floor, a sign that senators in both parties are looking to find a path forward. Senators who listened in or spoke up said that they were throwing out options, though they cautioned that the brainstorming session was spontaneous and just a first step. GOP Senator Mike Rounds, who stayed for the duration of the talks, said his main message to Democrats was that they should agree to the GOP stopgap resolution sooner rather than later, so that they can avoid the layoffs that Office of Management and Budget Director Russ Vought is threatening. My message was, the longer you go on with the shutdown, the more of an opportunity it is for the administration to actually look through and identify who they want to permanently terminate, said Rounds. Democratic Senator Peter Welch described the conversation as among senators who want to resolve the issue of expiring Affordable Care Act enhanced subsidies. The bottom line here is that I sensed real concern among my Republican colleagues about what happens to the people they represent if we go off the cliff on the Affordable Care Act, Welch added. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, who did not join the conversation, said, I've always felt that Republicans should be sitting down and talking to us. It's a good thing that that's happening, he said. However, Senate Republican leader John Thune remained skeptical, telling reporters, I think they're looking for a way out, but the way out is to open up the government. 5 minutes ago, Vance falsely asserts Democrats want to provide health care benefits to undocumented immigrants. From CNN's Kit Marr and Tammy Libby, Vice President J.D. Vance speaks during a briefing on Wednesday. Jim Watson/AFP, Getty Images. Vice President J.D. Vance falsely asserted that Democrats are willing to shut down the federal government to benefit illegal aliens. The Chuck Schumer, AOC wing of the Democratic Party shut down the government because they said to us, we will open the government, but only if you give billions of dollars of funding for health care for illegal aliens, Vance told reporters in the White House briefing room. Vance continued, they want to give health care benefits to illegal aliens. That is true. They gave us legislative text that would have undone us cutting off health care benefits for illegal aliens. Fact check. As CNN has reported, Democrats are pushing to continue more generous federal subsidies to help Americans afford Obamacare policies and to reverse deep cuts to Medicaid contained in Trump's sweeping domestic policy agenda package. But neither of those changes would provide health coverage to undocumented immigrants, since they aren't eligible for either program. Undocumented immigrants have never been eligible for Obamacare subsidies, and the Republicans' One Big Beautiful Bill Act narrowed the eligibility of certain legal immigrants. Vance also criticized the Biden administration for waving the magic wand of amnesty, giving people who were in the country illegally temporary protected status and access to health care benefits. What the Democrats are engaging in is a sleight of hand. They're saying, no, those weren't illegal aliens who were getting health care benefits even though everybody knows they were in the country illegally. It's a lie told by the Democrats that they're not trying to give health care benefits to illegal aliens, Vance said. 5 minutes ago, Vance frames possible federal layoffs as an effort to prioritize essential services if shutdown continues. From CNN's Betsy Klein, commuters crossed the street near L'Enfant Plaza in Washington, D.C. on Monday. Al Drago, Bloomberg, Getty Images. Vice President J.D. Vance warned there will likely be layoffs for the federal workforce if the government shutdown continues, but suggested they would be targeted to keep essential services going for the American people. Those comments are at odds with remarks from President Donald Trump, who told reporters Tuesday that Democrats would bear the brunt of impacts to the federal workforce. We'd be laying off a lot of people that are going to be very affected, and they're Democrats. They're going to be Democrats. Vance said Wednesday that no final decisions have been made, but that extraordinary measures would need to be taken, depending on how long the shutdown lasts. We're going to do everything that we can over the coming weeks, if the shutdown lasts that long, to ensure that people get the essential services they need, Vance said during a White House press briefing. He continued, we are going to have to lay some people off if the shutdown continues. We don't like that. We don't necessarily want to do it, but we're going to do what we have to keep the American people's essential services continuing to run. Pressed on whether the Trump administration has asked agencies to target federal workers who they believe are Democrats, Vance said, we're not targeting federal agencies. We're targeting the people's government so that as much as possible of the essential services can continue to function. He framed any layoffs as an effort to save money. We're going to have to save money in some places so the essential services don't get turned off in other places. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt later told reporters that such layoffs were very likely. 15 minutes ago, Vance says he's in private talks with Senate Democrats to end shutdown. From CNN's Adam Cankren. Vice President J.D. Vance said Wednesday that he's spoken with both Republican and Democratic senators as part of an effort to flip the handful of votes needed to end the government shutdown. We need 5 more in order to reopen the government, and that's really where we're going to focus, is how to get those 5 additional Democrats, he said during a White House press briefing. Vance characterized Senate Democrats as split over their willingness to negotiate a funding deal, saying the administration has already ruled out talking with those unwilling to back off the party's demands before the shutdown ends. We just write those people off because they're not negotiating in good faith, and frankly, we don't need it, Vance said. He added that he believes there are several Democrats who recognize the illogic of the position that they've taken in shutting down the government and are willing to negotiate a quick end to the standoff. A lot of them will admit in private that it's kind of absurd to shut down the people's government over these disagreements, Vance said. And of course, we're having that conversation with them. 21 minutes ago. Vance says Schumer is voting against funding bill because he's terrified of primary from left flank. From CNN's Donald Judd. Vice President J.D. Vance told reporters Wednesday that Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is refusing to back Republicans' plan to fund the government because he's terrified he's going to be faced a primary challenge from the progressive wing of his party. I think a lot of Americans are asking themselves, why did this happen? Why did the Democrats shut down the government despite, as White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said, voting on the exact same piece of legislation 6 months ago? Vance said during a White House press briefing, the reality here, and let's be honest about the politics, is that Chuck Schumer is terrified he's going to get a primary challenge from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. The reason why the American People's Government is shut down is because Chuck Schumer is listening to the far-left radicals in his own party, because he's terrified of a primary challenge. Democrats have demanded that Republicans engage in negotiations over reversing Medicaid cuts and extending expiring Enhanced Affordable Care Act subsidies before voting to reopen the government. Pressed Tuesday in an interview, Ocasio-Cortez dismissed claims Schumer was voting against the continuing resolution to fund the government over primary concerns. This is so not about me in this moment. This is about people being able to insure their children. And I will say, because I saw some senators speculating about this, and I saw some Republican members of Congress saying, oh, well, if we have this shutdown, it's because of AOC, she told MSNBC. Well, if that's the case, my office is open and you are free to walk in and negotiate with me directly. Because what I'm not going to do is tolerate 4 million uninsured Americans because Donald Trump decided one day that he wants to just make sure that kids are dying because they don't have access to insurance. 24 minutes ago. From CNN's Veronica Stracqualersi, House Speaker Mike Johnson defended furloughed government workers as the White House Budget Office has warned of layoffs amid the government shutdown. Asked by CNN's Dana Bash Wednesday if government workers who are furloughed during this government shutdown should be permanently fired, Johnson said, no. I wouldn't say that, because the people that are furloughed right now are hardworking American federal workers. Pressed on who should then be fired during the shutdown, Johnson said, I don't know. You have to show me a proposal of what is being presented. An Office of Management and Budget memo had instructed federal agencies to prepare plans for mass firings should a shutdown occur. OMB Director Russell Vought was set to hold a call with Republicans Wednesday afternoon. Johnson told CNN he didn't know if firings are certainly happening, but said of Vought, I'm going to find out what his plans are. The speaker, again, insisted that Vought has the authority to determine what's essential during a shutdown and added that he supports downsizing the scope and scale of the federal government. 34 minutes ago. Vance says White House is open to healthcare deal, as long as government is funded first. From CNN's Adam Cankren. Vice President J.D. Vance on Wednesday again signaled openness to negotiating with Democrats on healthcare, but only after the current government shutdown is over. The president was more than happy to say, yes, let's sit down and talk about how we can solve the healthcare crisis that we inherited from the Biden administration, Vance said during a press briefing, referring to President Donald Trump's meeting earlier this week with Democratic leaders. But it's one thing to say that we should solve the healthcare crisis for Americans. It's another thing to say we're going to shut down the government unless we give the Democrats every single thing that they want. Democratic lawmakers have demanded concessions from the White House in exchange for funding the government, including extending Enhanced Affordable Care Act subsidies that are due to expire at the end of the year. But the White House and Republican congressional leaders have so far refused, falsely claiming Democrats are seeking to fund health care for undocumented immigrants and insisting that no negotiations can occur until the government is reopened. 28 minutes ago. Press secretary casts blame on Democrats in opening shutdown messaging salvo. From CNN's Betsy Klein. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt speaks during a briefing on Wednesday. Evan Vucci/AP. The White House offered an opening messaging salvo starkly casting blame on Democrats for the government shutdown, pointing to bipartisan support for keeping the government open. We need to keep the government open and funded, and individuals and organizations across the political spectrum, across the country, agree with the Trump administration and Republicans, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said at today's press briefing. Leavitt pointed to comments from Teamsters labor union leader Sean O'Brien and the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, as well as moderate Democratic Senators Catherine Cortez Masto and John Fetterman, calling on Democratic senators to pass a bill to fund the government. Democrats need to stop sabotaging our country and holding the American people hostage in the country. Democrats need to do their jobs. The American people want the government reopened, Leavitt said. Democrats have demanded that Republicans engage in negotiations over reversing Medicaid cuts and extending expiring Enhanced Affordable Care Act subsidies before voting to reopen the government. But Leavitt pointed to health care programs that are at risk amid a shutdown. The Women, Infants, and Children Supplemental Nutrition Program, community health center funding, and other programs, she said, are now all at risk. The most vulnerable in our country are being punished. If Democrats actually cared about health care, they would applaud the actions taken by President Trump, she said. 32 minutes ago, DOJ asking to delay court deadlines against Trump because of the shutdown. From CNN's Caitlin Polans and Devin Cole. President Donald Trump speaks to the media as he returns to the White House on Tuesday. Win McNamee/Getty Images. The Justice Department has begun to ask federal courts to pause deadlines and lawsuits that have challenged President Donald Trump's remaking the federal government. Many of the lawsuits have been receiving emergency attention from the courts because of the extent of the drastic cutbacks and changes Trump has made across federal agencies. But the shutdown, the Justice Department argues, means government attorneys can't meet court deadlines for the time being. Stopping the lawsuits from moving forward because of the shutdown would theoretically help the administration avoid accountability in some of the cases and stretch out the litigation. In some of the lawsuits, judges have previously and temporarily blocked Trump's changes, though many have been allowed to remain in place, especially related to government worker firings, or are difficult to reverse. One such notice came today in a case in Maryland's federal court, where unions and nonprofit groups sued the administration for cutting back AmeriCorps and other similar federal community service programs. A judge previously said that union members who worked for AmeriCorps who were placed on leave by the administration should return to work, and some were receiving back pay. Judge Matthew Maddox of the Federal District Court in Maryland also ordered the DOJ to give an update on the status of the AmeriCorps workers every 2 weeks, which the department says it now can't do. Absent an appropriation, Department of Justice attorneys and employees of the federal defendants are prohibited from working, even on a voluntary basis, except in very limited circumstances, the DOJ told the judge. Although we greatly regret any disruption caused to the court and the other litigants, the government hereby moves for a stay of all current deadlines in this matter until Department of Justice attorneys are permitted to resume their usual civil litigation functions. 48 minutes ago. Federal agency asking employees to blame Democrats for shutdown. From CNN's Annie Grayer. A federal worker at the Small Business Association who was furloughed as the result of the government shutdown was shocked when agency leadership sent employees politically charged suggested language to use in their automated out-of-office emails during the shutdown. The message, reviewed by CNN, took the highly unusual step of encouraging federal employees to blame Senate Democrats for the ongoing shutdown. Federal agencies typically do not push partisan language on their career staffers, a move that has the potential to violate the Hatch Act. The suggested language SBA leadership encouraged its employees to use read. I am out of office for the foreseeable future because Senate Democrats voted to block a clean federal funding bill, H.R. 5371, leading to a government shutdown that is preventing the U.S. Small Business Administration, SBA, from serving America's 36 million small businesses. Every day that Senate Democrats continue to oppose a clean funding bill, they are stopping an estimated 320 small businesses from accessing $170 million in SBA-guaranteed funding, the note continued. SBA employees were also told to send a similar external message to their community partners. Once again, my employer has upturned my life and then ghosted me, leaving me to figure everything out on my own, all while asking me to relay partisan and divisive messages to the public on their behalf, the furloughed worker told CNN. Some context. This is not the only example of the Trump administration using agencies to push out their political message. On Tuesday, the Department of Housing and Urban Development posted a message on its website blaming the radical left ahead of the midnight deadline for a government shutdown. 47 minutes ago. Now, White House holds first briefing since government shutdown. From CNN staff, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt and U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance arrive at a press briefing on Wednesday. Jim Watson/AFP, Getty Images. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt is now holding a briefing. It is the first since the government shut down more than 12 hours ago. Vice President J.D. Vance is also in the room and is expected to speak shortly. 50 minutes ago. Path out of shutdown unclear as Democrats dig in on healthcare demands. From CNN's Allison Main, Manu Raju, Jenna Monin, and Veronica Stracqualersi. A worker locks the gate to the entrance of Everglades National Park Shark Valley in Everglades National Park, Florida, on Wednesday, due to the government shutdown. The park remains open to visitors, but with minimal staffing. North America/Getty Images. Senate Democrats who have voted to block the GOP's short-term spending bill insisted they plan to dig into their demands that Republicans engage in negotiations over reversing Medicaid cuts and extending expiring Enhanced Affordable Care Act subsidies before voting to reopen the government. Senator Mark Warner, who represents a large population of federal workers who risk losing their jobs amid a shutdown, argued that those displaced workers were behind Democrats in his fight, for now. He acknowledged it could change in the weeks ahead, but he dismissed questions from CNN about whether the crisis could make the situation worse for his constituents. For anybody that thinks continuing is simply saying, oh, this is normal, let's just keep on rolling. They're obviously folks, you must not have talked to many federal workers, because that's not what I've heard, he said. Senate Minority Whip Dick Durbin, who voted for a March stopgap bill, but now is opposing the Republican plan, told CNN that he plans to continue voting no on the GOP funding bill, saying, you mistakenly assume that their position is popular with the American people. Durbin said this debate is going to change when people start to see impacts on their health insurance premiums. Senator John Fetterman, though, one of the 3 Senate Democrats to vote for the GOP's 7-week funding package, warned that a shutdown will put millions of Americans' lives in chaos. 50 minutes ago, White House phone line blames Democrats for shutdown. From CNN's Kit Marr. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt has shared an automated message on the White House comment line blaming Democrats for the shutdown and telling Americans that they cannot take their call until the clean funding bill is passed. Democrats in Congress have shut down the federal government because they care more about funding health care for illegal immigrants than they care about serving you, the American people, Leavitt says in a pre-recorded message. Until Democrats vote for the clean Republican-backed continuing resolution to reopen the government, the White House is unable to answer your call or respond to your questions. We look forward to hearing from you again very soon, and in the meantime, please know President Trump will never stop fighting for you, she continues. The number to leave comments for the White House is 202-456-1111. 1 hour 37 minutes ago, top Senate Republican appears to downplay side talks on Affordable Care Act. From CNN's Sarah Ferris. Senate Majority Leader John Thune suggested that some Democrats are looking for a way out of the shutdown by having private talks with GOP senators on Enhanced Affordable Care Act subsidies, but said a shutdown must first end before any talks become real. As Thune left the Senate floor after lawmakers failed to advance the GOP funding proposal, he was asked about the bipartisan huddle on the floor. I think they're looking for a way out, but the way out is to open up the government, he said. Asked about next steps, Thune said, we'll tee up some votes when we get back and see if there's any movement. The Senate is expected to next vote on Friday. 1 hour 37 minutes ago. Watch. Air traffic controllers and TSA agents are working without getting paid. From CNN staff. The federal government has shut down, but air traffic controllers and Transportation Security Administration employees who staff airport security checkpoints are typically deemed essential workers and are still on the job today, without a paycheck. White House's budget chief warned GOP members that federal layoffs are coming in next 1 to 2 days. From CNN's Manu Raju, Sarah Ferris, and Annie Grayer. White House Budget Chief Russ Vought warned a group of House Republicans on Wednesday that some permanent layoffs of federal workers would take effect in 1 to 2 days, according to 4 people on the call. Speaking on the House GOP conference call, Vought, the director of the Office of Management and Budget, did not offer clarity on which federal workers could see layoffs or how many people could be affected, those people said. But Vought signaled that the administration would start with agencies that fall outside their priorities, the people said. Vought and others in the Trump administration have previously warned that they would use their powers during a shutdown to further shrink the size of the federal government to reflect the White House's agenda. Even GOP committees, however, have gotten little information about what that means for key federal agencies. Vought also warned that a popular federal safety net program for mothers and young children, called WIC, will run out of money by next week. 13 minutes ago. Senate will resume votes to reopen government after taking Thursday off for Jewish holiday. From CNN's Ted Barrett. The Senate will take a break from voting on the competing Republican and Democratic government funding bills on Thursday, so Jewish members can observe Yom Kippur. But lawmakers will be back for votes on Friday and Saturday, assuming an agreement isn't reached to end the stalemate. It's not yet clear what time Friday and Saturday votes would be held. The Senate is not expected to be in on Sunday, according to multiple Republican leadership aides, and will return on Monday to continue efforts to end the shutdown. 7 minutes ago, White House says Trump has the right to post, then delete medbed conspiracy video. From CNN's Adam Cankren. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt declined to explain why President Donald Trump posted an artificially created video of himself promoting the fake medbed conspiracy theory to social media, saying only that it was his right to do so. I think the president saw the video and posted it and then took it down, and he has the right to do that, Leavitt said. He likes to share memes, he likes to share videos, he likes to repost things that he sees other people post on social media as well. The president last week posted the AI video to Truth Social depicting him promising access to a cure-all bed, a so-called medbed that has been at the center of conspiracy theories spread within QAnon circles. In the video, the AI-generated Trump called them safe, modern, and designed to restore every citizen to full health and strength. Trump later deleted the video from his account without explanation. On Wednesday, Leavitt dodged questions about why the president posted it, casting the episode as a refreshing display of transparency. I think it's quite refreshing that we have a president who is so open and honest directly himself. Many a times on Truth you are hearing directly from the President of the United States, she said. 12 minutes ago, federal courts say they can stay open until October 17th. From CNN's Devin Cole and John Fritz. Federal courts across the U.S. are grappling with the government shutdown in different ways, with some carrying on as usual and one trial-level court in Washington, D.C., issuing a broad extension on most deadlines in cases involving the Trump administration. The order issued today by James Boasberg, the chief judge of the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia, noted that during the lapse in federal funding, many federal employees, including those at the Justice Department, which represents the government in court, are generally prohibited from working until appropriations are restored. The judge said that for now, in all civil cases involving the Trump administration, many deadlines imposed on the government, including those pertaining to court-ordered discovery, will be paused during the shutdown and for at least 5 days thereafter. But for other courts, it's mostly business as usual. The Administrative Office of the U.S. Courts that federal courts said today there is enough money to remain open through October 17 thanks to court fee balances and other funds. The Supreme Court, which kicks off a new term next week, has said that it, too, will maintain operations. A spokesperson said that the court anticipated no change to the court's oral arguments schedule in October. Initially, that office said the federal judiciary would begin to feel the pinch of a shutdown by Friday. 17 minutes ago, Democrat Jared Golden criticizes his own party on shutdown strategy. From CNN's Annie Grayer. Democratic Representative Jared Golden, the only Democrat in the House to vote for the Republican-led government funding bill, criticized his party for leaning into demands from far-left groups. This government shutdown is the result of hardball politics driven by the demands far-left groups are making for Democratic Party leaders to put on a show of their opposition to President Trump, Golden posted on X. The shutdown is hurting Americans and our economy. And the irony is it has only handed more power to the president, the main Democrat added. Golden, who is known to break with his party at times, called on Democrats to separate policy disagreements from a shutdown. There's room and time to negotiate. But normal policy disagreements are no reason to subject our constituents to the continued harm of this shutdown, he said. 23 minutes ago, White House says layoffs to the federal workforce are imminent. From CNN's Betsy Klein. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said today that layoffs to the federal workforce are imminent, marking a new front in the Trump administration's efforts to transform the size and scope of the federal government. Unfortunately, because the Democrats shut down the government, the president has directed his cabinet, and the Office of Management and Budget is working with agencies across the board to identify where cuts can be made, Leavitt said. She continued, "We believe that layoffs are imminent. They are, unfortunately, a consequence of this government shutdown. Remember, while many federal employees have been furloughed and some have worked without pay during a shutdown, previous government shutdowns have not led to mass layoffs in the past, including during President Donald Trump's first term." Leavitt declined to say what percentage of the federal workforce would be impacted. Pressed for specifics on the timing, she said they could happen very soon. 24 minutes ago, bipartisan senators engaged in informal discussion over options to end the shutdown. From CNN's Morgan Rimmer, Manu Rao, Sarah Ferris, Annie Grayer, Arlette Saenz, and Nikki Robertson. Senator Richard Blumenthal speaks to reporters about the government shutdown as he arrives for the Senate Democrats' lunch meeting in the U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C. on Tuesday. Bill Clark /CQ roll call /AP. A rotating group of bipartisan senators were engaged in informal discussion over options to end the shutdown on the Senate floor, a sign that senators in both parties are looking to find a path forward. Senators who listened in or
Primary
spoke up
season.
said
Ain't
that they were
nobody gonna
throwing out
vote.
options, though they cautioned that the brainstorming session was spontaneous and just a first step. GOP Senator Mike Rounds, who stayed for the duration of the talks, said his main message to Democrats was that they should agree to the GOP stopgap resolution sooner rather than later, so that they can avoid the layoffs that Office of Management and Budget Director Russ Vought is threatening. My message was, the longer you go on with the shutdown, the more of an opportunity it is for the administration to actually look through and identify who they want to permanently terminate, said Rounds. Democratic Senator Peter Welch described the conversation as among senators who want to resolve the issue of expiring Affordable Care Act enhanced subsidies. The bottom line here is that I sensed real concern among my Republican colleagues about what happens to the people they represent if we go off the cliff on the Affordable Care Act, Welch added. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, who did not join the conversation, said, I've always felt that Republicans should be sitting down and talking to us. It's a good thing that that's happening, he said. However, Senate Republican leader John Thune remained skeptical, telling reporters, I think they're looking for a way out, but the way out is to open up the government. 23 minutes ago, White House confirms it's pulling nomination of controversial pick to lead Bureau of Labor Statistics. From CNN's Donald Judd.
Come on, bro. What's going on?
The White House confirmed Wednesday that it was pulling the nomination of its controversial pick to lead the Bureau of Labor Statistics, E.J. Antoni, after CNN reported last month that Antoni operated a since-deleted Twitter account that featured degrading remarks on Kamala Harris, derogatory remarks about gay people, and conspiracy theories. Look, E.J. Antoni remains a great ally of the president and our team, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt told reporters during a press briefing. It became clear, unfortunately, that he was not going to have the votes, and so we will be announcing a replacement nominee very soon. On Tuesday, CNN reported that a person familiar with the matter said GOP Senators Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski had declined to meet with Antoni, potentially raising concerns that his nomination was in trouble. CNN has reached out to the White House and Antoni. Trump nominated Antoni in August after firing the previous commissioner, Erica McIntarfer, whom he accused without evidence of rigging jobs data. The ouster came after the July jobs report showed weak growth that month, with significant downward revisions to the May and June reports. 22 minutes ago, Leavitt maintains Trump has legal authority to fire Fed Governor Lisa Cook. From CNN's Kit Marr. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said the administration maintains that President Donald Trump has the authority to fire Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook, who will remain in her role until the Supreme Court rules on the case. Look, we have respect for the Supreme Court, but they're going to hear the actual case and make a determination on the legal argument in January, and we look forward to that, because we maintain that she was fired well within the president's legal authority to do so, Leavitt said. She was removed from the board, and we look forward to that case being fully played out at the Supreme Court, she continued. 25 minutes ago, J.D. Vance dismisses questions about Trump sharing a racist AI video, calling it funny. Vice President J.D. Vance speaks during the daily press briefing at the White House on Wednesday. Alex Wong, /Getty Images. Vice President J.D. Vance dismissed questions over whether President Donald Trump's sharing an offensive, AI-generated video mocking White House calls Kushner conflict of interest question, frankly despicable. From CNN's Kit Marr. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt flatly rejected the suggestion that it's inappropriate for President Donald Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner to help the federal government with matters concerning Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, and Saudi Arabia, given their investments in his firm Affinity Partners. I think it's frankly despicable that you're trying to suggest that it's inappropriate for Jared Kushner, who is widely respected around the world and has great trust and relationships with these critical partners in these countries, to strike a 20-point comprehensive, detailed peace plan that no other administration would ever be able to achieve. Leavitt said in response to a question from a reporter during the White House press briefing Wednesday. Leavitt phrased Kushner's involvement as a donation of his energy and time to our government to secure world peace, as he is not working in an official capacity. Virtually everyone in the world is supportive of this plan that Jared Kushner offered his time to help put together alongside our special envoy Witkoff, the vice president, the president of the United States, Secretary Rubio, and the president's entire national security team. We are very proud of that plan, and we hope Hamas will accept it because it will lead to a more peaceful and prosperous Middle East, Leavitt said, referring to the 20-point.
So we can't fund our government, but we can fund other governments. You feel me?
20-point plan to end the war in Gaza. 22 minutes ago, White House's budget chief warned GOP members that federal layoffs are coming in next 1 to 2 days. From CNN's Manu Raju, Sarah Ferris, and Annie Grayer. White House Budget Chief Russ Vought warned a group of House Republicans on Wednesday that some permanent layoffs of federal workers would take effect in one.
With that being said, guys, we'll be back here later. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. I try to respond to most comments. Like, just don't make a comment super long, or I'm just going to respond to some goofy stuff, and you'll probably get mad. But like, I put the phone number on damn near every night. Y'all just call into the show. You know what I mean? You can do the buttons, whatever buttons you like. But until next time, guys, I'm going to holler at y'all. Peace.